5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, what's up, everybody? What's up? We're live. Good to see you. Good to see you.
Right.
Cheers. All right, so where do we want to start? We've got like a ton of esports stuff to talk about. We've got the LCK, which has got wrapped, like got their stuff going on. LCS is going. LEC is going. We've got a busted new champion. We've got VFX. Lillia is also another busted champion. The meta's really weird right now. Like, we got a lot of stuff to talk about. So, let's just jump straight into. So, let's start with LCK. All right, let's start with LCK. So, first of all, Dam won. They're back in the finals. They're gonna go to Worlds again, presumably. And somehow, SKT has been relegated to having to run the gauntlet again just to make Worlds. Like, I don't understand this. I don't understand how they bench Faker and then end up having to run the gauntlet again. Like, I'm scared they're not gonna make Worlds.
So I actually, because I'm up late at night, I actually watch a lot of LCK. Biggest problem with SKT is Faker is just trying to 1v10. Well, okay. They have good players, and don't get me wrong, they have good players, right? But Faker, like when they bench Faker against a Freak of Freaks, game 1. They literally just like everyone closer, right? Just shit the bed. Mm-hmm. Then game 2 happened, right? When game 2 happened, literally they put Faker back on, and you know that one meme where on Infinity War where Thanos is like, "You cannot live with your own failure."
You say back to me.
Yeah, and then it's Faker just basically carried that game. I think that, to me, I think Cuz is kind of a throw. I don't think he's a good jungler. I don't
think he is either.
Yeah. I think if SKT really wants to go to Worlds, they have to put Faker in, and they have to play around mid lane. In the third game that I watched against the Freak of Freaks, they literally put Faker on set. And I was like, what are you doing? Why is he on set? That means they're expecting their top laner to they're expecting their jungler Cuz to win against as Karthus. They had like Senna bot lane with Senna ADC and Tom Kent support. They're just trying to get Teddy and Cuz to carry the game, when in reality they should be focusing on Faker to carry the game. Yeah. I feel Go on.
So
Go.
I was gonna kind of build off that, because when I saw the game 3 as well between I absolutely hated T1's draft against the Freak of Freaks in game 3, because I mean you had the whole of Freakish strategy was just to get Fly to go to Keen's or Mystic's lane, because I mean Keen is the superstar for a Freak of Freaks. He is obviously the best player. And you take him off of that and you put him on Zoe, who's supposed to just stay stationary in lane, and you get the Zoe Ezreal along with it. But for some reason, SKT picks the Renekton set with Karthus Senna. So you have these two champions that want to do stuff early so they can snowball, and Karthus Senna, who don't want to do anything and just scale.
No, exactly.
Yeah.
So their comp just doesn't work together. And all that Freaka has to do is just leave Keen on a side lane, who he was playing the Kalista top, so someone has to answer him, and then they could just sit mid and poke with the Ezreal Zoe, and SKT can't contest that because they don't have any engage other than Zed, who's not a great primary engage. He's a good secondary or tertiary engage.
Yeah, and not to mention they blind pick Renekton.
Yeah, like
oh my god, dude, the cardinal rule, you don't blind pick Renekton, you like pick Renekton into something. Like, you can pick a Renekton into Ornn and have some decent kind of chances, but you don't blind pick it your first pick. Like, what?
Absolutely, like
I don't understand.
Keen, who has a champion Ocean, like
yeah.
Yeah. He'd probably said as soon as he picked Renekton, okay, just give me Kalista.
Just give me Kalista. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's weird because
Oh, go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say, and it's weird because in a time where like last year, the top lane ADC picks, like 80 picks going top lane last year was a huge thing, especially getting into like stuff that FPX was doing, because they were picking stuff that they weren't afraid to like throw up there against tanks, and they were showing like, especially like Caps and stuff like that, when they were back when he was with Fnatic, like picking Vayne. You know, he has that picturesque moment where he like 1v5 carries the end of a game and saves it. I can't remember. I think it was against G2. Ends up winning the whole game off the Vayne pick. But like in a year where 80 picks top lane are not a credible threat because of, you know, stuff like, you know, you do have stuff like Set. You know, you do have stuff like Ornn. Ornn's almost always strong. I mean, Vladimir is always strong. Camille is good. Fiora's back in the meta. Shin's crazy strong right now. So in an era where you don't have to really be scared of those picks, like, you know, normally you would be okay with picking Renekton, but you still have to be wary when you're first picking it against a team like Damwon that's shown that they'll just take the fight anywhere. They'll take you on a draft and they'll pick stuff that's not conventional, and they'll get away with it because you'll blind pick stuff like Renekton, first pick. Like, it's a no-brainer. It's like, oh, okay, well, what if, like, because Renekton's always that great team fighter, right? Like, he gets in the middle of things, has a stun, which even though it's a 1.5-second stun, it feels like it lasts, you know, 10 years, and does credible damage in a team fight. That's why he's such a credible top lane pick. But he's, you know, you look at the ways to fight, it's like, okay, well, what if Renekton isn't alive to take the fight? Well, how do we do that? Well, you literally hit him from a range he can't clear. Like, Slice and Dice can't clear a distance that, like, a Kalista or a Vayne can keep him out of. I don't know. It was a weird pick for me.
To me, it just seems like, is Coma still their coach, right?
Yes.
Yes. It feels like he's out of touch with the game. That's honestly what it feels. I think that a lot of teams, and especially and I could just be selfish because I'm a selfish mid laner, but I feel like you just have to work around your best player. And like take a look at TSM. They're literally working around Bjergsen right now. Bjergsen's literally carrying that team.
Well, I don't know. Let's look at that series that they had. Let's look at that last series. Double with carry pants.
Okay, double
pants there.
Double did carry a bit, but it's like it. You know, like it does feel though like if these players, like if you're wanting to make worlds and you're wanting to get past playoffs and you want to win a championship, I just feel like you have to work around the best players. I think they're trying too much to be like Fun plus Phoenix, where like Dobin is trying to work around his teammates, and like even though he's not like, you know, the world's greatest laner, right? He's gonna play support characters in the mid lane and carry off of that. You know, to me, I feel like it's better for you to work around your best player rather than trying to work around the entire team, especially in clutch time. Like, there's no reason for them to pick Set mid. I mean, I know what they were trying to do, but Set mid to me was just like, it was just kind of a throw. And Renekton blind picking Renekton was just like kind of like they picked that first, I believe, right? I think that was just the beginning of their icing on the cake. You know,
right.
Yeah, the draft was sus from the beginning. I think holistically looking at SKT, and I kind of want to hear what you guys think about this, is, you know, when you think about SKT, you think Faker in regards to, you can't say SKT without Faker, and you can't say Faker without SKT. They're basically the same word almost. You know, it's that's how closely related they are. And then when you think either of those things, like you think success, you think victory, like you think 3-time, you know, world's finalist champions, you think, you know, God King Faker, you think, you know, all these amazing teams that SKT has come up with. But then, and I think the kind of the glory of it, and kind of the just the record and the history, and it's all of its I'm trying to think of the word, but just how grand it is when you think about that. You forget that a lot of the time Faker has spent a lot of those being in a lot of those teams having to carry. I mean, you know, when you look at the last World Finals they won, it was a struggle. It was really a struggle to kind of to win that series, and they almost lost it in a couple of points. I mean, that game 5 was very, very close. And I think over the last couple of years, I mean, for me, it's been kind of seeing this decline of what SKT sort of is as a team, where they're not nearly as competitive, where they have these really good splits, but then in the playoffs they just drop the ball, and it doesn't make any sense to me. And I'm trying, like, I want to kind of get your guys' opinions on, is this a player problem, is this a coaching problem, is this a culture problem? Like, what is preventing them from getting back to where they normally are? Because on the outside looking in, like, it seems like they have the working pieces, but it's not coming together.
I think, like, for SKT, like, they really started declining, like, in 2017 Worlds. Like, you look at their match against Misfits and RNG, they almost lost. They both got to 2-1, but they came back, but then blew it in 3-0 against Samsung Galaxy. And I think at that point, that's when the decline started, because they didn't even make Worlds in 2018. And when they made MSI in Worlds in 2019, they lost to G2. So it's really hard to tell exactly what's happening with him, because Faker, he's still doing Faker things. He's still doing a good job with SKT. It's just, I think it's just the other pieces that are around him could be a problem.
I agree. I think it's the players around him. I also do think that it's the coaches as well. I know what the coaches are wanting. They're wanting to find players that equal Faker. They're wanting to put they're basically trying to build a to me at least, when they were after 2017 Worlds or during personally, for me, I think their decline was right after Marin left, right? I think that was when their decline started, because at that point they were like the Golden State Warriors. They had the best players in the world, right? They're right there, and then next thing you know, Marin leaves for a bunch of money to China, right?
Yep.
And it keeps going on, and then Benji just decides to retire. Bang and Wolf decide that they're gonna be throwers. But like right afterwards. It's like right afterwards to me. It's just it's like they're trying to find new players for their team, so that way Faker can get help, right? But I don't think they'll find it anytime soon. Right now, it just feels like they're in a limbo of finding players to work around Faker.
Yeah,
And
it's really really hard to replace players like Bang and Bangy. Like, those are like staples for SKT. They were part of the reason why they became, I think, 3-time world champions or 2-time world champions with that roster. But trying to replace those is like a near impossible task, because Bang was an amazing ADC. Bangy was an amazing jungler. Like, trying to find replacements for those, and also on top of Coma leaving SKT. I think it was like 2017.
Yeah, that was a huge thing, was Kakoma leaving. I couldn't believe that he had left.
Yeah, that was the big thing, because whenever Coma was with SKT, they were always like on the top. They were always dominant. Then when Coma left, it was like, okay, what do we do now? Because Faker and Coma, those were like the dream team. Those two are like a dream team together. Now without them, it's been kind of a slump for them, internationally at least. Domestically, they're doing just fine, but when they're on an international stage, there's just something off with SKT.
Yeah. It's kind of strange too, because if you look at their roster, like, their roster isn't a slump roster right now. Like, they have Kana, they have Cuz, Faker, Teddy, Effort. So, I mean, we keep harping on it, but like, the pieces are there. The pieces are there for them to win. I mean, Jockey, you were saying a minute ago, like, domestic success for them has been, like, it's been really good.
Yeah.
Troll question: is LCK becoming the new NA?
No.
No.
Just still too early for that.
Absolutely not.
They won't reach NA, but I do think that LCK is in a slump, because if you look at the last 2 years of Worlds, what's 2018, 2019, Europe and LPL, they've been whooping them in Worlds.
I mean,
and especially last year at Worlds, when G2 single-handedly took down faced every single LCK team that was there, Griffin, Damwon, and SKT, and beat them all at least once. Griffin once, and then Damwon and SKT in a best of 5. It just shows that, in my opinion, that the LCK is honestly now the third best region behind LEC and LPL.
What I will say about the LCK, and this kind of also goes off what I personally think what the downfall of SKT was, and I'll answer that question first, is that I think right now, like ever since like 2018, that Worlds where like everything just went bonkers, the meta was just insane.
Mm-hmm.
And going into 2019 now this season, your mid jungle and mid support synergy, like those three have to be like perfect. Like you look at G2, perks or caps, because mid laners.
Mid laners.
And Yankos, like they have almost flawless synergy. Like they play off each other so well. You look at 2018 IG, who was like one of the best teams, probably one of the funnest teams to watch. Like I had a blast watching them.
Yeah.
Rookie and Ning. Like you look at Fun Plus last year with Doinby and their jungler, his name is escaping. I think it was Tian.
Tian.
Yeah, and like they had amazing synergy. And right now, when Bangi left, like it was Klid, and now it's Kana.
Yep.
Like they don't have that rapport. Faker doesn't have that rapport with them, so they just seem like disjointed. And that was the thing with like Africa at 2018 Worlds, where Kuro and I think it was Spirit, they didn't have great synergy. They just kind of won because they got out of Greece because they're just better. Like you have Spirit, Kuro, and Keen against probably a bunch of international and NA teams. Like, you know what I mean? Like, of course they're gonna win. And so I think that's a big, and that's why you see Danwon just running over people in the LCK, because Showmaker and their jungler, who's escaping me right now,
I think Canyon.
Yeah, Showmaker and Canyon just running over people. Like they're just like at 5 minutes, you see like, oh, Canyon already has a bunch of deep vision in their side of the jungle.
Yeah.
So X jungler lost the game because they can't do anything because Canyon's already perfectly tracked them.
Oh yeah. Well, and then the other part of that too, though. But just to throw this other food for thought, I think the other reason though that Canyon is able to do as well as he is that he doesn't have to babysit his top lane. Like he knows he knows Nuguri's going to be fine no matter what. Like if he leaves, Nuguri's fine. Like he's not going to get outplayed. Nuguri always gets something that he can play with, even if he doesn't get like the first pick and draft. Like he always gets something that he can use, which is great for him. And so like as a jungler, especially when you're looking at like when Canyon and Showmaker are able to just run around the map and do whatever it is they want, that's terrifying because you have to be cognizant that those guys are moving all the time. The minute they're out of vision, like they use that fear of where they're at very, very well. Like it's kind of like, that league tip you always see the time of like, oh, the threat of an ability is sometimes scarier than it's actually being used. Like that's kind of like Showmaker and Canyon. Like the minute you don't see them, you're probably already dead.
No, yeah, totally.
Yeah.
And like you don't see, the only other team you really see do that is Dragon X. And that's why like this finals between Dragon X and Danwon is just beyond hype. Like I'm not even excited for the LEC or LCS finals because like I don't care. Like it's Danwon and Dragon X. Man,
so actually it's a pretty good segue to getting into that. So this Danwon versus Dragon X finals. What do you guys think? Like let's talk about this a little bit. Let's get some predictions. Like how do you think this is gonna go? Because it's a close finals, man. Like it can go either way.
I think personally my prediction is going to I want to say it's going to be 3-2 Damwon.
3-2 Damwon? Okay, why is that?
I think I think like I'm just going by stats, right?
Mm-hmm.
I just think that they have the better team. Showmaker is pretty good in mid lane. I don't know. For me, I feel like I was looking at Drax's schedule, and it just looks like, to me at least, they had an easier schedule than Damwon. I mean, they played everyone together, but I feel like against everybody else, Drax to me just I don't know the right word. Okay, hold on. Give me a second to think of the
I
right
think
word.
are you? I think I can see what you're getting at because their strength of schedule was a little bit easier in terms of relative power level because they didn't have to play anybody when they were especially strong, whereas Damwon has played the who's who of strong teams throughout the season.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Basically.
I see that.
But
So-
I also think that the LCK in general has deteriorated for a while, and I think there's only like 2 good teams right now, and 3 to 4 great teams on there, and
Yeah. Okay, I want to save that point for later because I actually want to talk about maybe that deterioration, but I want to get everyone's kind of predictions for this finals before we go on.
Yeah.
Zoodiac, what do you got?
So, I had Danwon 3-1, because I think if you look at Danwon's entire roster going from 2019 to now, they've kept 4, excuse me, out of the 5 players. The only thing they brought in was Ghost from Sandbox, who was one of Sandbox's best players.
Mm-hmm. And
so Nuggery, Canyon, Showmaker, and Beryl have stayed there. If you look at Dragon X's roster, Doran, Piosik, and Kuria they're all new additions, as well as Deft, who has been bouncing around Korea and China, from here on. But he joined this roster, and Chovy, who stayed on this roster. So I don't think Dragon X is ready yet. I don't think they're ready to beat a team like Danwon yet.
Okay.
I think if we were doing this next year, where Doran, Piosik, and Kuria have a Worlds under their belt, and they have international experience, this would be a much harder. But I think Danwon is just too good. Again, Showmaker and Canyon just run over teams by themselves, and so I think Danwon's too good right now. I have them 3-1.
Okay, yeah. Jockey, what you got?
Yeah. Going off of what Zodiac said, I'm actually going to be a little bit bolder and say it'll be a 3-0 for Damwon. Because like you said, Damwon is the superior team. Showmaker and Canyon, they're just mowing down anyone and everyone that tries to get in their way. And I think that comparing them from where they were from 2019 and now, it's a whole different team now. Even though they still have 4 of the 5 same players, it's they're really grown and they've learned a lot over the past year. And I don't think, like you said, Dragon X, they don't have that many experienced players I think Damwon does. So I think that Damwon will take a 3-0 easy, I think.
Okay. Well, I'm going to be the outlier here. I'm going to say 3-2 Dragon X, and here's why. So here's why. Okay, so here's why. Dragon X did not show up in the international tournament when they went to Worlds, right? They were strong, but their performance was disappointing. Okay.
Yeah.
Since that time, they have gotten a lot better. And the reason that I feel this way is very, very simple. Who do they have on their team? They've got Doran. They got, I don't know how to say this guy's name, but Sisik, whatever. What is it?
Piosik.
Piosik, yeah. Chovy, Deft, and then they went up in supports with Kuria, right? Straight up, they traded up in supports with Kuria. Okay,
Yeah.
That team as a whole performs really, really well under pressure. They absolutely win clutch games, and when you look at their run through the lower bracket of the playoffs, they have, I would say systematically, they beat Gen G. Gen G was a rough one because they started, and keep in mind, their run through the lower bracket playoffs wasn't as long because they started off sooner. But them beating Gen G was a tough game. Them beating Gen G at the time was a tough ask. Period, end of discussion. It's there's an argument to be made that Gen G should have been the one in the finals against Damwon. That's a reasonable argument to make. But when you look at the way that Dragon X beat Gen G, they beat Gen G through absolutely dominating the 5v5 team fights. They had control of the side lanes. Sorry, I'm dying over here. They had control of the side lanes, so they were never losing there. Their jungler mid synergy was not as good as Gen G's, but what they did do was they combined it with the bot lane synergy. So they always rolled their jungle with their bot lane and then rolled up team fights everywhere that they went. So I think when you look front to back of the overall team level, while Damwon is really, really good at skirmishes and they win in areas where you don't have vision and they win the fights for tower objectives, Dragon X controls other objectives such as Baron and Dragon very, very well. They've proven that they play around them, they play around them early, and then when they team fight so cleanly that it's very hard to find any advantage over them unless you're getting some sort of TP flank or unless you outdraft them. I think Dragon X's biggest weakness is in their draft, that they take losing matchups where they think they're going to win, or they have pocket picks that they think are stronger than they actually are, and that gets them into trouble. But if they draft clean and they team fight front to back like they can, and they force Damwon to play a boring, slow game, Dragon X can win those. Dragon X can win us. Now, they're not going to stop them, and I can very easily see where they mess up the draft and it goes 3-0, like for Damwon. But if Dragon X can make the game excruciating for Damwon, they can win.
I just can't wait for Doran to pick Arden like
No.
and then they throw the game.
And so
Hey, it could be worse.
It could be worse.
NA, where if you don't pick Graves, you just like kicked off the team apparently because everyone plays Graves.
Well,
even if he's like terrible in the game, you gotta pick Graves.
Well, we did get to see some Kazakhs last weekend, so that was fun.
That's true. That's fair.
That's like the only. Okay, so before we leave LCK, because I want to move on from the LCK and talk briefly two of the points I want to hit for them. Does SKT make it out of this gauntlet?
Yes.
Yes.
I think they have the most experience because their hardest roadblock is going to be Genji, but Genji is cursed. Like, they're cursed.
Dude, I have no idea.
They could literally get every single best player in the world, and they'll find a way to lose. They could be like Gibraltar when they have like.
They just need to change the name back to Samsung Galaxy.
Yeah, if they're Samsung Galaxy, they win. But they're Genji, they lose.
Wow, if they were Samsung, they'd win.
This, I think it's a tough question. I, as a longtime Faker fan, I hope they do. But if their drafting isn't good, and they keep trying to put closer into the position to carry, or Cuz isn't like trying to help out Faker, I think they don't make it to World.
That's fair.
Yeah,
I can definitely see that.
Yeah, that's a tough one. I mean, like what Koi said, like it's all going to be about the drafts. If they draft good, then I think that SKT can make it through. And like, you have to put Faker on his power picks. Like, I don't want to see him playing set or anything like that. Put him on a champion where he can.
I want to see
put
him
him on
like
a champion where he can really perform well.
Yeah,
like
you want to see him like
LeBlanc
on. Yeah, you want to see him like on LeBlanc and Syndra. You don't want to really see him on Rise. I mean, you don't want to see him on Galio. You don't want to see him.
I don't
on
want to see
Rise
Rise in general.
is
you don't want to see Rise at World at all.
but yeah, like if SKT drafts good and put Faker on power picks, then I think they can get out of the gauntlet. But Genji is going to be really tough for them. But if they draft good, then I think they'll beat them and get into a group and get into the World Championship.
Okay. So we were kind of alluding to it earlier. You know, looking at how SKT kind of ended up at this position where they're at the gauntlet. And I think Koi, you were talking about this earlier when we talked about a lot of the SKT junglers, or not SKT, but Korean junglers leaving. Do you think that this, you know, the quote unquote Great Korean Exodus is kind of still having lingering effects in the region? I mean, you look at a lot of these Korean players that have kind of left to go over to China, either for better team prospects or for money, and you kind of see how the region is hurting for talent, as it has been over the last couple seasons. And I'm just curious to see what you guys think about that.
So the way I see it is that Korea is so good. Korea was so good that every single player, even if you were an amateur rookie, you were a god tier compared to everybody else in the region. So you have all these players, China who wants to win, LEC who wants to win, NA who wants to win. They're gonna grab all your talent and they're gonna take it to the region. Mm-hmm. And that's exactly what happened. So after you see, like, for example, like Flame and Marin and a bunch of other, like Huni, and they were all like tier 1 players in LCK.
Yep.
Right. The tier 1, tier 2, and then next thing you know, you have these LEC and LCK players like trying to pick them up, right? So you have Huni and Rainover going to Fnatic, and they're just like, hey, these players are actually really good, right? And that's LCK's talent, right? Now you have all these LCK players or these homegrown Korean players going into different regions, and now their talent is being used by them. That the way I see it is the only reason why they're deteriorating is because they're not working on their. They're basically all the old players that are like playing need to be get rid of, and they focus on their new players.
Oh, but what about Faker?
Yeah, I mean, you know, Faker,
He's saying Faker's gotta
timeless-
go. He's saying Faker's gotta go.
But well, you know what I mean, right? Like it's just one of those things where I feel like if you take their talent, their talent, their that region's competitiveness is gonna go away.
Yeah.
And
So,
that's
to kind of build off what you're saying, I think a big thing that has hurt. Yeah. Well, first off, one of the big things was the disbandment of Griffin. Because if Griffin was in this region, people would look at the LCK completely.
Yeah,
different.
the Griffin story is.
Yeah, like
It
because
was
imagine
insane.
you had
Oh
Dan
my
Juan and
God.
Griffin in the same region. Like that would be disgusting.
Yeah.
Like, I
Yeah.
mean, Griffin in a clutch game would just crumble into a ball and disintegrate like they did against SKT in both spring and summer finals.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think a big thing that hurt them was like the formation of like these super teams, like KT, Rocks Tigers, you know, old Longzhu and Kingzone, like
Mm-hmm.
because you take this talent, like take Teddy. Teddy won Jin Air, who's historically one of the worst Korean teams ever. Like it was terrible.
But they're still there.
The only reason they were
They're still there though. They haven't been relegated yet.
like if you had and like if you look at other regions, like the LEC is the perfect example of this, where yeah, there are bad teams like Excel and we draft for late Origin because that's all they do. That's a topic for another day. Is my Origin rant.
Yeah.
But at least they still have like homegrown talent. Like you could say, oh, Origin, they have Alfari and Upset and XL, they have Kadril and all these other guys. In the LCK, it was like you have SKT, you have a challenger, and you have another challenger. Everyone else just have fun.
Mhm.
Like, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like that was the problem in the LCK is that it's top heavy. You have the top 4 or 5 teams, and then everyone else.
Yep.
I mean, and that doesn't foster the growth of these players because then these players want to say, why do I want to stay here when SKT, Kingzone, and Danwon just running over us? I'm gonna go somewhere else.
I do. Oh, go ahead, Jockey.
All right. Another thing though is that like we're talking about Koreans leaving LCK and going to the LPL. Like it's still sort of happening right now. Like for example, take Khan and Peanut for example. Khan, he's the mainstay in the LCK, but he never won a world championship. Correct me if I'm wrong about that. Until he went to not Khan, Duke. My bad, Duke.
Yeah.
Duke. He didn't win a world championship until he went to IG in 2018. Correct me if I'm wrong about that.
No,
But
he didn't.
then Peanut, he never won a world championship, I believe, even though he was on SKT,
Yeah.
which is like world tier team. He didn't win. He went over to JDG Gaming, I believe, and they're going to Worlds now.
JDG.
Yep.
So it's like,
Dude, that's hilarious. That's hilarious that they're going.
yeah, but like it's still like Korean is like there's still Korean players going over to China, and I'm thinking like that's another thing. Like you have these mainstay players going off to China, and so the younger people are looking at these guys and thinking, what if I go to China? What if I go to join a team in China? Can they elevate my gameplay more than what any Korean team has to offer?
Yeah. So actually, I want to talk about that real quick because you talk about a lot of these goes into China, and we've hit this a couple times. Do you think that franchising is an issue, and that's why Korea is suffering? And the reason I bring this up is because if you look at places like the LCS and the LEC, and this for me is huge. I've had this discussion with a lot of people. Some people believe that franchising is bad because it devalues competition, which that's a fair argument because if your position is guaranteed somewhat, and there's you don't have to worry about your team being relegated, then you're not going to fight maybe as hard as you would to stay alive, and that maybe might bring the level of competition down. But my question is this though. Does that make the scene better than where if players aren't worried about having to lose their jobs so badly in the sense that their entire team is going to lose because they have one bad split? So, franchising gives them a certain degree of certainty that, okay, my team's going to be around for, X amount of years, so I have more time to focus on my gameplay. And does that franchising then bring in other potential players that are like, hey, I'm a Korean player, I'm a Chinese player, I have a chance to make it big in another league and actually win and go to Worlds and get paid decently to do it, so long as I'm competitive. You know, does franchising help sort of promote this willingness for people to come into a league that is maybe not so that to make it more competitive, you know, that maybe it wasn't before? And I guess my question is LCK suffering from the safety and that sort of intrigue that'll bring players into play for them if they have a guaranteed spot or money?
So, fun fact, I was a tier 2 Overwatch. I played in contenders, played at a high level.
Mm-hmm.
I hate franchise.
Okay.
I very much hate it. The fact all those tier 1 players, tier 2 players who aren't getting a chance because they can't win in LCK, that's the reason why they're leaving, for that safety net, for that, hey, look, if I can't become a tier 1 player in LCK, I can't become a pro player, I can't get a starting role, and I barely get like $500 a week, right? I'm gonna go to somewhere where I'm gonna get a salary. I'm gonna go somewhere where I'm getting $1 million a year. Even if we lose, who cares? I'm getting $1 million a year, right? And there won't be that competitive drive, you know. And also the fact that, like, I know in LCK, the training and the amount of the work ethic for esports there is a lot harder compared to all the other regions. You know, there's a reason why they call NA a retirement home, right? And it's because of franchising and because spring split doesn't matter, right? It's basically easier for players to have a safety net, and there's not a lot of good competition. That to me is the big reason why, and I think franchising kind of in my opinion, kind of destroyed the way. That's why I kind of stopped watching a little bit of like LCS and LEC because franchising exists. I feel like there's the competition just deteriorated. And
But then let me ask you a question on that front then. So if talking about competition deteriorating, just to play devil's advocate then with this, a lot of these players that are growing up in this Korean scene, that are, you know, maybe working their way through challengers and stuff like that, trying to get onto these professional teams that actually have main stage on you know, LCS, LCK primetime. But a lot of these players that can't make them, they might, if they were developed, they might be fantastic Korean players, but they're having a hard time getting through that gate. And, you know, they're not seeing anything that's going to want to make them stay. So these might be prime LCK talent that could very well reinvigorate the LCK scene, but they're not staying because it's not on the front end. It's not worth for them to put in that effort where they could put the exact same effort and go to another region and have just as much success. And you look at like China, that's now going on 2 Worlds victories. You know, they're winning. You know, that region's won back-to-back Worlds now.
Yeah.
You know, does the lack of franchising hurt the natural growth of talent in a region if there's not a reason for them to stay?
So, I personally, for me, I think those players in the tier 3, tier 2 scene, like especially in the ones who are trying to get past like is it Challenger Series, right? To get
Korea, yeah, they still have. I don't think they're ranked in Korea.
So
yeah.
Okay, so that Challenger Series over there, it doesn't matter. Like, in my opinion, right? They just have to win it. They don't, or like I think they just have to win it. They'll get back into the LC, or they either get into the LCK or they don't, or they have to show really good. Because from what I've heard from all the other coaches in NA or like other regions, right? From according to LS and all the other ones, all those players, they just have to show that they're good, right? Other regions are gonna take them. They don't even have to win Challenger Series. They don't have to get into LCK. They just have to look good, and other teams from the other regions are gonna pick them up.
Okay, so you're saying it might be an issue of false talent then, that it just looks like they're good, but they haven't proven anything. They haven't won anything. Okay.
So what I will say on franchising is that I think at least for NA, because I know NA and EU are the two big for franchising, right?
Yep.
Obviously, I think they are the first. I think they're the only two regions to have franchise. If you look at the EU, the people in charge there are smart. The GMs, the talent evaluators, the analysts are smart. And NA, not so much.
Yeah.
Because EU, there's not very many Korean rosters or Korean or Chinese players. Like
They're
just
very
getting
few.
EU players.
Yep.
And so, like, and you have people like Immortals who literally said, yes, Ica, we'll give you a contract. Come play for us. Like, and Ica may have been one of the worst mid laners we've ever seen until Ryoma pulled up.
Oh yeah, Ryoma.
Tommy with his
no.
Like, these are players, and you have players in like Palafox, who's in academy, who's been smurfing in academy, won't get his chance. Insanity only got a chance because Ica, the actual talent evaluators in NA are just god awful. Like, they can't see talent if it hit him across the face. I think EU, every year there's a new EU mid who's just the greatest mid. You had Caps, you had Perks, then you had Caps, even Febivin's still around.
Now you have Nemesis.
Larson, Humanoid, like they're like, you know what I mean? They're all like a new EU mid just comes out of the woodworks.
Just they manufacture those things.
Yeah,
they manufacture them. And,
they manufacture
NA, like, we don't have the people that are willing to take a risk on these NA prospects.
Yeah.
Like, who cares? Who cares if you sign Palafox and like he looks good but not great, and like your team doesn't do that hot? Just give him another shot.
Yeah, which that's crazy for me because those teams like, and I kind of get my own little opinion about this here. I want to get to Jockey and see what he thinks, but just to chime in just a little bit of my own here, I think franchising is good limitedly. It is good to guarantee to investors and teams a spot, because that's the thing is everyone that loves this sport wants to see it grow. And the only way to do that is to make sure that investors want to stay. And the only way that they want to stay is if they have a guaranteed return on their money. They're going to invest more and become more active if they feel that it's worth their time. If your team's going to get relegated at the end of the season, like, you invest in a team, your team doesn't do so hot because it's the new kid on the block, and now you're relegations and you're out. Investors aren't going to want to stay for that. They're just not. They're not going to put the time and effort to build a team, pay the players, and invest in the league itself and pay the entry fee just to have their team kicked out. They're not going to do that. So I think franchising gets these guys interested and says, hey, stay with us. It's going to be worth your investment to do it. We're not going to kick your team out. Your investment's not just going to go down the drain. Simultaneous with that, though, it does kill a little bit of the competition, because now what it is now that these teams have a salary cap, or not a salary cap, but now they have more salary, they're, at least with NA, they're more incensed to bring in talent from overseas. So a lot of Chinese players, a lot of Korean players, a lot of European players, not so many North American players, which is weird to me, because you would think that with the safety net that these teams have, they would be willing to invest in North American talent. Like, oh, we're not going to lose our spot if we take our chance on this rookie, or just build our roster completely from North American talent. So we'll just go for it, because we have that safety blanket of we're not going to get kicked out of the league because we're playing to North American players. But no, they're like importing everybody, and I don't understand this. Like, if ever it was safer to develop North American talent, it would be right now.
Yeah. I mean, an example of that would be like Cloud9 from 2018. Like they had their imports like Svenskeren and Jensen, but then you had Licorice, Sneaky, and Zazel, who are homegrown talent. They didn't need to bring in a Korean player or a Chinese player. They proved their worth, and they made it all the way to the semifinals at Worlds that year. And no NA team has ever done that. So
I thought they made quarterfinals that year. I thought it was just quarterfinals that year.
No, it was semis.
No,
it was semis.
They swept Africa Freaks and then got swept by Fnatic.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right.
I was hoping it was going to be an NA versus EU.
Oh, yeah, we were close.
We were really close.
All right. So going back to franchising, like, it can be a double-edged sword. Like, if you have like a franchise that actually wants to invest and grow their esports team and league, then it can work like a charm if they actually decide to homegrown talent instead of just importing people like Bang or other players from out region. But then you have another issue with that when you have teams like 100 Themes and Immortals, which aren't proving their worth split after split, and they still there when just another team can come in with more dedicated players and they could just blow up the LCS with their skills. But because of franchising, there's not an opportunity for that.
I feel bad for some.
Because they guarantee their
dude, that's ice.
So like,
just think. I'm sorry. I don't want. I'm gonna do this one last thing, Corey, and then I'll let you go ahead.
Yeah, that's fine.
Some talent evaluator on 100 Thieves looked to Oceania, saw Ryoma do something, and said, "This is our guy.
Oh no!
This is him."
Oh no!
They probably saw him run it down mid and like, yes.
And someday sitting right there like, bro, what's going on? Oh, it's so sad, dude.
This?
And then they had the audacity to blame media. It's okay.
Oh, I know! That was messed up. Like, he did them a favor by coming in short notice like that. Like, yeah, I'll help you guys out. Oh, bro, media sucks. He's the reason our season... I've been here 5 games! What do you mean?
And that's what I like my point with this franchising. Like, you have teams that aren't willing to put their effort into making homegrown talent, just yanking people from different regions. Like, LCK, you're a good player, come over here. LEC, you're a good player, come over here. Like, they don't want to actually invest into their own region. And if they aren't willing to do that, then I don't think they deserve a spot in the LCS. Because if you're just going to bring in talent from different regions, then go play there. Like, the LCS is for North American teams. Bring in players from US and Canada. Bring them down here. Invest in them, and they can turn out like Cloud9 did in 2018.
I have an interesting fix to that. So the import cap is, I think, 2, right? I think it's is it 2 or 3? It's 2. Yeah, it's 2.
Yeah, 2.
Should be moved down to 1. 1 import. That's all you get.
I think it should be put down to 0. I think.
Hey! We want to rip the Band-Aid off, not chop the leg off. Let's.
Yeah.
I mean, to be honest with you, I think the reason why NA is struggling to make it past any group and why our entire region looks like a joke is because of import.
Yeah, I agree with that.
The imports players are some of the import players like Bjergsen. Well, technically he's he's like
he's now in NA.
He's in
I think the idea that once TSM got Bjergsen, it would like became a kind of like a what do you call it? A tradition in NA to have one or two other region talent on your team.
Yeah, superstars.
To me, it just seems like I'm gonna go back to Cloud9 because Cloud9 was the only team to make it past group stages or in general to always have all NA players, right? And they've always been the most consistent. And also, I hope you guys, I don't know if you guys know this, but also they're the only team where Jack goes like, oh, you're 16 years old and you're good at League of Legends. Well, guess what? Here's my ability to like put you in this boot camp, right? And make that talent even better. So once you're 18, we can come pick you up.
Their team is still boot camping in Korea, which I think is absolutely really important. Like that whole thing last year, like, oh, we're not going to boot camp in Korea because the finals is in Europe this year, so we want to play against all the European players because that's where the meta is going to be. It's like, just because it's in one physical part of the world does not change the fact that one region is still really, really strong. Like, if you don't want to go to Korea, that's fine. I understand Korea is maybe not the strongest it's been, but, like, if you can, like, go to China and boot camp. Go to Korea and boot camp, but, like, don't pretend that just because of finals or that the championship is in Europe magically changes the fact that like China and Korea haven't been on top of the world for the last since the beginning of like the only like I point this out to people that are like, oh well Korea and China are only good in certain situations or certain teams. Like, you do understand that the only reason they don't have all the finals victories is because the first season that they had a finals, those regions didn't have a server. Like, that's the only reason they don't have all of them, which is, to me, absolutely crazy. So I'm with you on that one. Like,
yeah, Like, I think. I think it's just a lot of. I think I also do think that the way that the way that we treat esports in this country is kind of like a joke, right?
It's not
Versus
nearly
the,
as serious as it over there. I've had
yeah,
this conversation
like
too.
yeah, it's like it's like as if okay, so for example, like you know how when we go to like college players, high school players, they've been playing football players, they've been growing them since they were young, right?
Mhm.
Middle school, elementary school,
Right.
you know, you got pee-wee leagues, right?
Yep.
That's personally for me, that's what they should be doing uh for
Esports.
esports. Because like I'm gonna bring up Smash, right? I don't know if you guys watch the Smash community, but a lot of the people in the Smash community, they're good, especially when they start at a young age, right? Like my little brother, he's so good that I've seen him beat like some of my friends who are like actually like pro gamers, right? Like pros in Smash, right? I've seen him, a 14, 13-year-old kid, beat some of the top like players in Smash, and uh, I think that's where like you start them at a young age, you show them right, just like the way we treat sports here. You start them at a young age and then grow them until they get into that high level, and then that's either where they're gonna make it or break it, like around like college, 18 years old, you know, that's when they're gonna either make it to pro level, or they're not gonna do anything. But at least that's where your competition, that's where your talent is, right? You that's the same with esports. It starts right here, right, in Korea, right? It starts like at a young age, then it goes up to the competition goes up because they keep going, right? To me, that's where the problem is.
I kind of agree with that one. This is one of my favorite topics to talk about, which is having been prior to here. Well, I'll get into that story later, but I guess what I'm trying to say is anywhere else you go around the world that has a sizable esports community, you go to Japan, you go to Korea, you go to Europe, and basically anywhere outside the U.S. That has an esports league that participates in it. Those guys, the level of esports like notoriety, not necessarily notoriety, but its level of publicity and how much it's participated in is much higher here than North America. You go to Korea and you talk about if you go to Korea and you say Faker, like everybody knows who you're talking about. Those guys are rock stars. Like in Europe, those guys are rock stars. In Japan, those guys are. I mean, they are the equivalent level of rock stars. Like their names are on billboards. Their games get televised on public television. Whereas in North America, it's still kind of a niche thing. Where like you say esports and people kind of give you a funny look. Well, you go to you go to Korea and it's standard day-to-day life. They don't even bat an eye. It's just part of how things go there. And I think it's kind of one of the failings of League. Low Esports gets a lot of things right. They've definitely grown to be very, very big, and they have a huge following both domestically, internationally, everywhere. But I would say the one thing that they've failed on is like getting it out there. The more visibility your sport has, the more interest you get from people who are playing domestically. So I think that would be a huge answer to getting the talent actually back where it needs to be in North America. Like the more people know about it, the more people are going to be interested, especially when you're starting off at a younger age. So then the more domestic talent you have that's trying out for it, to the point where you don't need imports from Korea and China anymore. You don't have to worry about bringing people over from Europe. And then suddenly you're getting into finals of worlds. Maybe you're not winning it that first year, but hey, your team got, North America got there. And then it just builds off of that. And I'm interested to see what you guys think about that. But for me, like, it's visibility.
Yeah. I mean, I also think it's the way that society treats gamers. I'm not saying gamers are oppressed.
Gamers are the most oppressed.
Gamer rights.
It's just, I think to me, it's just society still treats gamers as like losers. Like that's not what you should be wasting your time. Joe Rogan's one of those examples where it's like why are you even talking smack? Like playing esports and trying to get good at video games competitively is just as the same as trying to get competitively in taekwondo. The only difference is that he sees it as like a lazy man. I think the viewpoint, like I know in the future I guarantee you, in the future, in like 20 years, when we all start having kids, our generation starts having kids, right? I guarantee you, esports will be at the top, and there will be no such thing as basketball. Maybe 2K, like 2K esports is gonna be the new thing, you know. Like to me, that's what's gonna end up happening. Call me that predicted. 2050 esports is at the top of its game. You know, like I think NA will eventually get to it, but as of right now, until society changes the demeanor of how gaming and competitive gaming works, right? NA will always struggle with having weaker players.
Yeah.
You know?
And going off what you're saying about like getting it out there, getting esports out there, like you look at League of Legends, like just in the spring they got a deal with ESPN to air their spring playoffs.
Yep, they've got that ESPN deal now.
Yep, and nothing else has happened since then. Like, yes, you have Overwatch League, but barely anyone watches that anymore. I'm surprised that like we're not trying harder to get esports out there. Like the LCS needs to keep advocating for ESPN, like saying, "Hey, we have summer finals, air us again." Because yes, there's sports now, but still, it's like esports is still very out there. It's still very popular right now. Find a way to air that.
Getting popular every year, and the amount of growth that esports as a whole makes every year is incredible. And League is a big part of why that growth is. But it's just it hurts to see it in North America because it's like you see every other region like they're like the participation there by regular people is crazy. But you look at North America, and it's like it's not growing the way as fast as it could be, or maybe that it should be.
Yeah.
Just as an aside, how mad were you guys when the finals got canceled for spring?
Oh,
I was mad. I had tickets.
Yeah.
I had tickets too. Like me and my roommates were like are like 5 minutes away from the arena center.
Oh,
so we were just so pissed.
Dude, I had tickets for me and all my friends. I had like 10 tickets for semis and then like 10 tickets for finals. I just went and bought tickets because I just wanted to bring people with me, and they canceled. I was so mad. I was like, I have a sticky note on my desk that I make sure never moves, which is to like next year, like come spring, to like just start lobbying them like, you better bring it back to Texas. It was our turn. Yeah. Bring it back to Texas.
At that time for me, it was like going to either that or another event early in the year. So I went to the earlier event, and when I found out that it got canceled, I was like, thank goodness I didn't spend my money on that, because that would have been a few $100s. You guys have refunds though, right?
Yeah, we got refunds. Okay. But I didn't want the refund. I wanted the event.
Same. All right. Let's steer back into Worlds, shall we?
Yeah. So as we're steering back into Worlds, so kind of SKT's doomed. 100% SKT's doomed. So then moving on to the next region. So heir apparent in the next region. So China. So we're gonna go. I want to talk about the LPL a little bit, which is all their teams have already qualified, and then we'll go from LPL to LEC. We have to hit an A. I know it sucks, but we have to hit it. Oh, I know we got to hit it.
You're gonna disappoint us again.
Again. And then we'll move on to we'll actually move on to some game stuff and then personal stuff from there, like just stuff about us, whatever. But moving on to China. So just to recap, I'm sure you guys already know. So they have all 4 of their teams qualified, and we're going to hit that. I'm mad that they get 4 teams. Like, everybody should get 4 teams if that's what we're doing it. We're playing favorites over here. But I see why they did it. So, Top Esports, JD Gaming, Suning, and then LGD Gaming have all qualified. So, the China as a whole, their entire region is qualified. I'm interested to see what you guys think about it. Like, are we happy with the teams that qualified? Are there some teams that maybe shouldn't have got in over some other teams? Is one of those things not like the other?
What I will say is that I'm sad that Invictus Gaming didn't get to go.
Just Invictus? Are you sure it's just Invictus?
I mean, Fun Plus kind of ran it down. I'm not even gonna lie. I mean, they.
Oh, come on!
No, after that game against Victory 5, I was like, they are like completely doomed. Like, if they went to Worlds, I'm pretty sure FlyQuest would roll them. Like,
it was kind of. I agree. If Fun Plus had made it off of that, it would kind of be like when 100 Thieves made it. Like, you're looking like you don't belong here.
Yeah, like I'm sad that IG, because I mean, I'm a huge IG fan.
Yeah.
Like. The Shy kind of just ran it down in the game against LGD.
Yeah,
he kind of did.
He turbo inted.
Didn't he run?
Like, 1, 2, 3 Cancun.
Didn't think he run like Craig Kennan at some point.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh my
Yes.
god,
Yeah.
dude.
But
I think he was just tilted or something, and he's just like, "Fuck it, I'll just build Craig Kennan."
Which is crazy because last year they didn't look tilted at all. Like it looked like it was
No.
really hard to phase them. Like they were making people mad, and then this year it's been the opposite. Like it seems like someone looking at them the wrong way would tilt them. I don't
Yeah.
know.
I think, but what I will say about China though, like as much as I say China hype, China is like
China.
the strangest region in the world because this is the only region where Renekton is a good pick. The games are over in 23 minutes.
Okay, to be fair, you're the only region that knows how to play Renekton correctly, so let's just throw that out
Yeah,
there.
true.
Dragon 1, if we're not 5v5 at Dragon, you're you're
Get out.
you're
Get out.
like you're gone.
Yeah.
Like the games are over so fast. Like
Yeah. And going off what you were
go ahead.
Go ahead,
going off what
Jockey.
you were saying about like IG being there and FPX not being there, like
Well,
RNG is not there either, and they're a Chinese
Oh, I know,
mainstay.
dude. But Uzi,
Like, that is
but
incredible
Uzi's
that
gone.
RNG
But he's gone though. Uzi is gone.
Yeah, that's true.
Still
but
can't
still,
believe
like,
that.
Yeah,
not
RNG
having
is
RNG,
gone now. Uzi is
but
gone.
not having
RNG is
RNG
gone.
at World is going to be so weird and honestly interesting seeing, like, because now RNG, they lost Uzi. They're basically gone from Worlds now. So it's
Yep.
like,
Wait,
how are these other teams going to step up in their place? Because trying to fill RNG's shoes, and that's a big thing. And quick going back to FPX, when was the last time a world champion failed to make it to Worlds? Like, is that Taipei
It's
Assassin?
never. So not only that, not only is it just
Okay.
one world champion, it's two world champions, and the fact that SKT, if we have a possibility of the last three, no, maybe more. We have a
No,
possibility of the last
one-
four world champions not making it because FPX, Invictus. What is Samsung
Samsung.
now? Samsung, which is
Gen G.
Gen G.
Samsung would pick Gen G.
Samsung and Gen G, they could not make it, and then SKT could not make it. That's crazy to me.
It
What I will
is.
say though is that China, like the four, so LGD is kind of like the wild card team because,
Yeah.
like, I mean they're good. I mean Kramer, Peanut, GA,
Mhm.
like, they're like the staples of this team. Like that's who needs to carry. Sunning, I'm gonna be honest, I have not watched much of Sunning. I mean, I
Yeah,
can't the only one I can recognize is SOFM, on their team. But I mean, from what I've heard, they've been playing really well. The hype is Top Esports and JD Gaming.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
can't wait. I hope and pray to whatever gods are out there that FlyQuest is in the same group as Top Esports. Jackie Love versus Wild Turtle.
Oh my gosh. But yeah, going off what you're saying about like Top Esports, like they're just a monster of a team, especially their mid laner, like Knight. Like he is.
Oh, Knight might be the best.
Oh,
Knight
Knight.
and Showmaker are 1 and 2 for the best mid.
Yeah, definitely. I
They're
put
one
those
and
two
two.
on top. But like, I am really excited to see how Top and JD Gaming do on the world stage. Like, it is going to be really excited to see what they can do on this caliber of a stage against teams like Damwon and G2 and teams like that. Like, it's going to be really exciting to see how they stack up against them.
Koi, what you got over there?
I kind of want to see how they're gonna face against EU. I think EU
Ooh.
has grown a lot.
I
Yeah.
agree.
I think to be honest, I could even make a case in my opinion. I could make the case that that Q might be better than LPL.
Oh, that's a
like-
hot take.
I don't think so.
I like obviously the work ethic and the players that LPL definitely looks better, but I think they have a fighting chance. I think EU this year could win World.
Listen. I want to agree with you. Here's the
Yeah.
problem, and it sums up EU in one word. What's two words technically? Coin flip.
True.
Yeah.
The whole region is
The
coin
whole
flip.
region is the coin flip.
It's like Hillisang coin flip. You either get Hillisang or Hillikang. You either get
Hillisang
caps or
Hillian.
or you get caps or you get craps. Like
Yeah.
you have no
Well-
idea what you're getting at any point when you
I don't
watch an
know if you
EU
saw it.
game.
I know we're gonna talk about it, but the because I want to bring it up because did you watch the Rogue Mad Lions game.
Dude,
Yeah.
Rogue
Shadow
smashed.
ran it down.
Ran
so
it
hard.
down.
Like he
Yeah.
deserved to be reported to the police. like that's why I can't say that EU. I wouldn't even put the EU teams above like Danwon or Dragon X, because like you get games where like, man, G2 ran over Mad Lions or whatever. You get games where Caps is like, all right, I'm gonna go fight a full build Lucian. Whenever
He jazzed into that bush and he killed him. He did it twice. He had an opportunity to walk away and he went back into the bush.
Like and like that's the thing. It's like top esports and JD just like run over teams.
Yeah.
Like, again, these games are over in 20 minutes. Like it's not like not like the over where it's like, oh, there's no way the team can come back.
No, it's just over because they end games
Top is
violently.
in the base,
hitting
the Nexus at 20 minutes.
I would summarize China by saying this, and this is, it's kind of weird to use these terms when you look at, a video game or League of Legends, but I would say that China, they're blindingly fast, they're incredibly violent, and they're really, really smart about the way they attack. It's oof. I mean, top like the way top esports, like they throw so much pressure onto a player. They find that one player and make that person just suffer.
And like that's why I can't see a team like G2 or Mad or Rogue or even Fnatic like ever coming close to top esports, because first off, Jackie Love and I don't know who they're
Jackie Love,
Queequeg, Ming Jiang,
they're
starting support, right? Yeah, so like they are just such a good bot lane that don't need anything, like because it's Jackie Love.
It's Jackie Love.
It's
the best AD carry in China, and probably the best AD carry in the world.
I like that phrase. It's Jackie Love.
It's Jackie Love.
I mean, he's
a former 2018 IG superstar AD carry.
Yeah.
Like, and like Knight 369 Karsa, like they just do so.
And you
much.
look, and I think what's even funnier, because we have this, all of us seem to have the same emotion about China, but that's the thing, is you look at like from top to bottom, like you look at top, you look at JD, you even look at Suning, and you're like, fuck, like look at the talent. You're like, how does anybody beat these guys? You're trying to find ways, and it's like you can see where it might be possible, but you're like, but bro, like you look at, I mean, they have the who's who of talent in that region.
I'm like, the reason why I'm going, why I think is I'm a gambler. I'm wanting to see what EU region has. Last year they made it to finals, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right. Past two regions, right? Or past two seasons,
because it was
worlds, right?
Yeah, Fnatic versus IG, then G2 versus FunPlus. But they lost 3-0 both times.
Yeah.
Exactly.
To me, I think I'm willing to take that coin flip.
I mean, I think it's a worthy bet too.
Yeah.
But what I will say though is that the only one I bet on is G2, because Fnatic. I mean, it's a playoff buff for Fnatic. Like they basically dismantled Rogue.
Yeah.
I mean, had an epic, maybe one of the best 5-game series against G2. Because I mean, every series, if it's not a sweep,
they almost lost it though. Listen, that is the first time I have seen a base race and a dragon fight at the same time. I've never seen that before in my life.
And like Fnatic has the talent, but again, their coach is Mithy.
Yeah.
Like, are you gonna put Mithy against like the gauntlet of coaches in China?
Oh God.
Yeah.
So who's coaching for top esports?
I don't
know.
No idea.
I'll look it up. Give me a sec.
I'm looking. I can't remember who their coach is.
But like that's the thing, and like I think
BSYY.
Rogue and Mad are just too young. Like I like Larson and I like Humanoid, but I just don't think they're ready. I don't think that roster is ready to compete against teams like Danwon, like Dragon X, like all of China.
But then again, like with Misfits in 2017, like they were a brand new team and they almost took down like the top one of the biggest teams in
so
SKT.
with that being, that's why I'm willing to take the gamble, right? Is because to me, so China plays the way that they're playing. No matter what region they go to, they play whatever their region does. You know, that's why Renekton's good. I think Renekton this next patch is going to be like either a ban.
Remind me, so,
Or-
and just to hit that second. So you mentioned
Renekton.
you mentioned the patch. I just want to clear this for anybody that's listening. The World's patch is patch 10.18, right, or is it 10.19?
I think it's
I think is it 10.18?
10.
It'll be one of those two.
Yeah.
Because I know Yone is going to be disabled.
And like
Yeah,
Worlds
yeah.
is like in a week. Like it's like right now. Like Worlds is almost here.
Yeah, 3 weeks away, I think.
It's the 22nd of September, I believe.
Yeah.
Yep.
So like I was saying before, like China plays the way that they play. Korea plays the way that they play. If EU plays the way that EU plays, right? I guarantee you they're gonna take one of those Chinese teams down.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
And that's where like I think like where NA tries to copy Korea or NA tries to copy China. It's like that's where NA struggles is that they don't have their own kind of style since they're mostly filled with ports, right? So that's why to me EU has a chance to win Worlds this season.
Okay. So let me ask you a question then, because you talked about sense of style. Who has the greater? Because this is a factor when you talk about threat and draft, and one of the things that G2 tries to utilize. Which region has the greater pool of champions to pull from? Is it Europe? Like, are they playing more unique champions? Is their pool harder to counter, or is it China who's pulling a lot of top lane picks, a lot of support, a lot of different support picks that they're trying stuff? Going back to Lulu, looking at Janna stuff. Like who's got the read right now?
I think EU has a more surprise pick that why are they doing this? Like it catches teams off guard. Versus China's like, oh well, our players are just mechanically better than yours, so we're just gonna pick this, even if it's a losing matchup. I don't care. Kalista, Renekton against a Kalista, doesn't matter. The Shy is gonna probably beat them anyways, like something like that, right? Like
I don't know if Shy is gonna beat them, but
Shy's not going to Worlds, but you know what I mean, right? Like to me, it's just China. China to me has like they have. To me, their picks are going to be a lot more different compared to everyone else, just because mechanically, it feels like China can't be stopped. It doesn't matter. Yeah, go.
I was gonna say though that like EU has some really unique picks. Like for Fnatic, it's either Whippo plays Gangplank or he plays something we've never seen before.
Yeah,
Rengar.
That's Fnatic strategy. It's all right, Whippo. You want to play Gangplank? No, all right, just hit random. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
But I think China, when they do have a unique pick, there's a reason.
Yeah.
Like
you look at FPX with Joinby.
Yeah, there's a very clear plan of why they picked this, how it fits, and all that. They're not just saying like.
Dude, last year if you'd have told me FPX was gonna win that entire damn tournament off of playing Galio mid, I'd have called you a liar.
They played Malphite.
They played but he played Galio. Who plays Galio at Worlds at mid and wins? Joinby apparently.
It's because the teams have their own. I don't even want to say it's a regional thing, but I think it's a team thing. Like top Esports has their own style that's different from how JDG, Sunying, and LGD.
Yeah.
It's the same thing in Europe. It's the same thing in Korea. NA, like
we're all NA regions.
Have their own style, and so I think. Like, I think that's how we have to. I don't think it's a regional style thing. I think it's a team style.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Going off a little bit on that, like, if Europe even has these surprise picks, like, let's say if they do like a cinch top or something like that, or pull out the Pike again for a mid or top lane, Chinese teams will find a way to deal with it because they are, I think, much more. They're smarter and they're more mechanically gifted into countering that kind of stuff. Like if they. Like, for example, G2 pick a Pike, they'll just try to find a way to work around it. Like,
pick a ribbon.
Europe can have their power and surprise picks, but I just think China will still find a way to outplay them because they're just that strong of a region right now, especially with top esports and JD Gaming. Like they'll find a way to go through whatever kind of power pick or kind of sneaky pick you have in store. Like Nemesis on a Vanguard, they'll just find a way to counter that. That's why I think LPL is much better pick wise than Europe would be, and surprising us.
China wins. Everybody go home.
Yeah. I want to say that I think that if Europe pulls off something absolutely bonkers, like pulling something out like Swain support or something as crazy as that, if they pull out something out of their hats that can knock off a top esports strat or another LPL strat, they have a chance, but it's going to be very hard to do that against the likes of them.
Yeah.
Just funnel.
Funnel.
Funnel. Thank God that died.
Just think about this. Caps plays Master Yi. Yankos plays some Tarek, right? Caps gets mid farm because you can play Karma top. He gets top farm because Senna is a champion that doesn't have to farm. He can get Bart farm as well.
This thing that you're doing, stop. This no, let it die. Ryan killed Funnel for a reason.
Mark Merrill's listening and yes.
Yes.
Here's the thing though, with G2, back when they played, I think Origin was it in 2018, when the Falling Cup was dead, they still pulled it out and they still won. So they can pull out strats that are years old and can find a way for it to work. If any team can beat LPL in the strat and surprise game, it'd be G2. But I can't see Fnatic and the other teams doing that kind of thing. G2 is G2. They're gonna do crazy stuff in drafts and their picks. That's why I think like you said, they're maybe the only team that can actually hold up against an LPL team.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of funny too, though, with I guess China being as strong as it is, there's really not a whole lot to talk about because you kind of you already know your expectation for them, especially since there's no ambiguity. You already know the teams that are decided for them. So I guess with that, moving on to Europe then, because we're hitting this so hard with teams that are trying to the region that maybe has the best chance to kind of upset them. So again, no ambiguity there. We already know the teams are qualified. It's gonna be Fnatic, G2 Rogue, Mad Lions. Now, is there a team in that lineup that should not be there? Yes or no?
Should it be there? Apparently for me, Rogue.
Rogue? Really?
Yeah, I don't think Rogue should be there.
But they beat Mad Lions. They beat the heir apparent.
Okay, so I was talking about this with Gabe, my roommate, the other day. I was talking about this before. Some of the teams in this season, because of quarantine, right? They look good online.
Oh, I know this argument. Let's go. Let's hear it.
I personally, for me, I think teams personally for me, and I'm gonna use NA and EU for example, right? I think because of the fact that there were no actual LAN tournaments, Rogue looked like the most dominant team for a while. Rogue looked really dominant. FlyQuest looks real dominant, right? But to me, it's it's just because it's online, and it's not. I'm not trying to discredit. I'm not trying to discredit their players. Their players are good, right? I'm just saying that in
Chair Gamers says team didn't actually win. No, I'm just
kidding. In my eyes, there's I feel like Fnatic and G2, yes, okay, Mad Lions maybe, but I feel I just, to me, if there's that whole there's a crowd, there's people going in right into Worlds, right? I think Rogue gets stage fights and loses first round.
So let me ask you this real quick though. If Rogue was not in the spot for Worlds, what EU team would you put in place of Rogue? What team would you put?
Meme-wise, yeah, Shellshock.
Schalke, the dream. It was meant to be.
But all right, but seriously, who would you put in?
Faker Dabe.
So I didn't really watch a whole lot of EU.
I think realistically, I don't think it's a meme. I think realistically, you would put Schalke. I think towards the end of that split, I think they looked ridiculous, and I think had it not been cut short, I don't know if I would pull Rogue out. I think I would pull Mad Lions out.
I absolutely pull Mad Lions.
I would pull Mad Lions.
Same.
I think Rogue looked even. I definitely agree with you, Koi. I definitely think that they looked better on paper. Like, we're going to use the analogy on paper. I think they definitely looked better on paper than what they might actually be in a live performance. And I definitely think that that's been a thing that's affected every region, maybe not just North America and Europe and everybody else, but I think it's affected everyone. But I think even with that considered, I think the team that you pull is still Mad Lions. I think, and it's hard to say this because you look at the results, like, well, they did still lose to Mad Lions. They had their chance. They had their chance in the regular season to fix it. They definitely had their chance in the playoffs. They should have beat Mad Lions if they want to go on, and that's all well and good. But it's also the similar situation with 100 Thieves. Everybody knew that they weren't supposed to be there. There was another TSM was supposed to be there. Everyone's like, please, like if everyone could have waved a magic wand, they would have gotten rid of 100 Thieves. They would have put in TSM in a heartbeat, 100%.
Yeah,
it's a similar situation with this. That you look at Mad Lions, like if there's a team that you would have to replace, you would replace it with Origin. There just doesn't feel like there's another team that could take that spot. So that's my 2 cents about it.
So what I will say though, if I had to take a team out, I'd take Mad Lions out and I wouldn't add a.
Really?
Okay, so here's the thing, right? But like that's if I would.
Okay.
Because right now in EU, there's a top 4, there's Schalke, and everyone else is garbage.
That's fair.
Yeah.
No, I agree
Can
with
you
that.
imagine?
No, I agree.
Can you imagine like Crown Shot, who I don't know if you watch the Ellis coach streams, but he's an idiot. He's an idiot. Like he's an absolute buffoon. Can you imagine him having to land against Jackie Love?
Oh, it's a disaster.
Like
Yeah, it would be. Jackie Love would stomp over him.
I could see NA team beating SKT. Like run over them.
Yeah.
Like that's the thing about EU, and that's why I'm so happy that Mad Lions and Rogue are as good as they are, because EU was more top heavy than Korea.
Yeah.
It used to be Fnatic, G2, and someone else.
Yeah.
And it very well might still be Fnatic and G2 in the finals, but at least it feels like there's more people now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
at least we have some competition now. Like it's not just Fnatic and G2 running over everyone. And but other than that, like other than those 4, and Schalke maybe, because I mean they were just so freaking hot. Like I don't like no one else. Like I'm not looking at any. Oh man, Origin gone in. Oh man, roll over and die Origin.
Yeah, like I mean, none of those obviously like I said before, like every team who made it to Worlds, they deserve it. Right?
Yeah.
Right.
I just personally think that like the whole quarantine kind of screwed everything.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I agree.
definitely.
I think so too. But like the thing is, it's like my expectations for Mad, because I don't know what I don't know. I haven't seen them. The Worlds is a completely different beast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like it depends on what group they go in. It depends on who's in their group. Like.
And I think lack of MSI hurt that too. I think it would have been interesting to see one of those teams play at MSI, and so not having that I think is kind of weird. And that's the other thing too. So going into this Worlds tournament, and I'm going to save this topic for later because I want to hit the whole. I have a couple of things I want to discuss about Worlds itself, and not maybe just any particular region, but it's a topic for later. So with that being said, you have these 3 teams that are still in the playoffs. You have Fnatic, G2, Rogue. G2 plays Rogue tomorrow. And then on Sunday is the finals. Who wins predictions? Like who's winning that? Like who wins that game? And then who wins out of that out of Fnatic? So let's hear it.
Yeah.
So I think G2 is gonna sweep Rogue.
Okay.
Really?
Like I think G2 in the playoffs and in these types of games is just a different animal than what Rogue can be. Because I mean G2 should have beat Fnatic 3-1. Let's be honest. They should have beat Fnatic.
Yeah.
They completely threw game 3. And game 5 was in their hands, except Nemesis and Reckless had a god tier base defense.
Yep.
Like
and Caps wanted to solo kill him.
Caps was doing something.
Yep. Caps was rearing his head.
And I just think Rogue G2's just too good. G2's just too good. Like and then we have another G2 Fnatic. And at that point, I don't know. I'm gonna stick with Fnatic because I've grown up a Fnatic fan as well as an Invictus Gaming fan.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna stick with Fnatic. I can't bet against my boy. But would I be shocked if G2 swept Fnatic? No.
Yeah. So you're saying G2 beats Rogue and then G2 sweeps Fnatic?
I don't think they're gonna sweep Fnatic. I think it'll be 4 games. G2 beats 4 or 5 games. G2 Fnatic. But I think G2 will sweep Rogue and G2.
Interesting. Okay. Jockey, what you got?
I think that it'll be 3-1 for G2 against Rogue because while yes, G2 is another animal in the playoffs, Rogue I think may be good enough to knock maybe a game off them because they are that good of a team because you have a Larson who was statistically the best mid laner in the regular summer split.
That soundbite. I like that soundbite from that last game. He beaten by the statistically best mid laner.
Yeah. And then you have Hans Sama. So I think that Rogue can knock a game, but I still think that G2, they're just way too strong to lose to Rogue. So I think it'll be 3-1 to G2. But then against Fnatic, I mean, after that last series against them, I think it's going to be very hard for them to mentally come back after that because they knew that they had the series in the palm of their hands. And especially in Game 3, like they hard through that Game 3, like out of the planet hard.
Mm-hmm.
But like, it's going to be hard for them to mentally come back from being that close to victory and then just being yanked away because Fnatic stepped up when G2 made mistakes.
What I will say that G2, as much as I've watched Fnatic, watched G2 is, it doesn't matter if they get backdoored like XPEK. They don't have mental. Like they're like machines. Like,
yeah.
Caps will face int, like just run it down, go 0-20, and they'll come back the next game and just dumpster. Like,
that's true.
Like they don't have mentalities. They just
that's true.
All right, Koi, what you got? Oh, sorry, Jockey, keep going. Sorry, Jockey.
So going off of that, I think I would actually give it to G2, but it'll be a 3-2 definitely. I think it'll go to another 5 games, but G2 will take it 3-2.
So you think it's the good old grand old Fnatic G2 going to Game 5 in the finals? All right, Koi, what you got?
So for me, I see G2 versus Rogue 3-1. I think G2 I think G2 in general just does not have is kind of like tilt proof until they face against a China team. So it doesn't matter what happens, right? Like they're just tilt proof.
Oh no!
So, but once they get to Fnatic, I think it'll be a close game. I think if they don't make the mistakes, Fnatic wins it. But but like as you guys said, it's all about whether Caps or Craps shows up, right?
Grabs draft.
Yeah, Grabs draft.
So I think personally, I want Fnatic win 3-2, but realistically, if I really look at it, I think G2 takes that a loss from the semifinals and just says, you know what, Fnatic, I'm not taking your bullshit. I'm going 3. They're gonna win it 3-2. Realistic.
Interesting.
We all are G2 winning, realistic.
Yeah.
I think we all hope Fnatic.
Well, now hold on a second. I gotta give mine.
Here we go.
All right.
Here we go.
There are 2 distinct possibilities for me, statistically. We discount Rogue a little too much, I think. Rogue's a scary team. They were first in the season and on the summer split, and they stayed that way for a reason. Rogue has realistically made a lot of improvements since spring. The roster, just as a reminder, Finn inspired, Larson, the new heir apparent, the new God King maybe, Hans Sama and Vander. Hans Sama and Vander, not a huge factor. It's a decent bot lane. Okay. It's all right. It's not going to win you worlds, but it might get you to quarterfinals. Larson inspired. The credible jungle mid duo. Okay. Respectable. Again, it won't win you worlds yet. It might in a year or two. Then you got Finn, who's just Finn. That roster, however, plays very, very clean. They play. I think they play a little bit of a boring style of league in terms of that when they draft. Like you're not gonna see anything crazy, for the most part. Very front to back, very team fight oriented, good objective control. So just an all around, all the basics that you expect a pro league team to do, they do. But they do it very, very well. Their macro is very, very clean, and it can take advantage of coin flip teams, i.e., Mad Lions, Fnatic, and G2, who are all very, very coin flippy. So here's my prediction. I have two predictions. The most likely is that G2 beats Rogue. I think something along the line of 3-0, 3-1. They move on to Fnatic. Fnatic beats them. Because Fnatic already beat them once in the playoffs. Fnatic normally doesn't lose to the same team, normally doesn't lose to a team it beats in playoffs. Normally if they beat their opponent, if they're the winner and they beat them earlier in the playoffs, they usually win the finals. That's normally how it goes, especially when they play G2. So I think if they get there, Fnatic wins. And I think that that's the finals that a lot of people want to see. It's good old Fnatic G2. It's sure to be a barn burner. It's sure to be all kinds of craziness. It's a hype finals. And it's also a finals that we've had how many times in a row now? Like, it's like the Fnatic G2 final.
2018, I think, spring 2018.
I think there was only one.
No. That was
No,
Origin.
There was
it was summer of 2019 because
Yeah.
spring of 2020.
But it is the most common finals that EU has, right? Like
Yeah.
G2 Fnatic is not something that's strange to seeing in finals. So I think that by dint of that, it is the most likely. Now, there's an argument for both teams winning that finals. I personally think it's going to be Fnatic. I think it's going to be something along the lines of 3-2. I think it goes 5 games. However, there is a world not so far off and a galaxy also not far away where Rogue roll G2 3-0 and move on to Fnatic and say, hey, just so you know, we're still here. I don't think you can beat us a second time. Now, again, Fnatic normally doesn't lose to a team they beat once in the playoffs. Normally, if they beat you the first time, they beat you the second time if they see you again. But Rogue is clean, and they beat coin flippy teams. They also finished first in the summer split for a reason. I think that could be enough to give them a finals win. And there is part of me, admittedly a very, very tiny part, I like deep down inside me, almost where you can't see it, is tired of Fnatic and G2 being in the finals. But like I said, that part is very, very small. Because Fnatic and G2 is always fun.
So I think the thing about Rogue, though, while you're right, they play really clean and they do everything well. G2 is the team where it doesn't matter if you do everything right. If you give them an inch, they'll take a mile.
That's fair.
Like and Rogue would like because when you watch the entire Fnatic series where Fnatic swept them, like Rogue was like, all right guys, this is the correct play, and then Fnatic did something where they didn't expect it, and they're like, wait, hold on, you can't do that. And then Fnatic did something else like, you can't do that.
Yeah.
You did the wrong play. And then they did it again, and then Fnatic just kept getting advantage. And Rogue, Rogue, I need to see Rogue have a game, like a game 3 of G2 Fnatic, where they're just down and they just come back. They storm back. Like, I need to see a game like that before I fully buy into this Rogue roster, or this Rogue team. Because like I said, I just don't think they're ready to compete against G2 and Fnatic. Like, actually, like, push them to the brink or just outright just wash them. Like, I don't think they're ready.
I agree. I think that's why I don't think, like, that's why I said, like, if I had to get rid of one team, it'd be Rogue, because
that's fair.
It's like playoff wise, like they were already given the semifinals and they got beat by Fnatic, right? Yeah, and even though Mad Lion, they swept Mad Lions, and I thought Mad Lions, like, to me, Mad Lions are good, but like I said, it's that whole like LAN versus thing. I think the LAN versus online is a big factor in why.
And Rogue Shadow really showed.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like, against, I want to see them play like tomorrow, or it's tomorrow, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I want to see how they're gonna face against G2, because I think that's gonna, if they can prove to me that they can beat G2, then I think they really deserve to go to World. That's how I see it.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so that's our predictions for you. And now, unfortunately, at the end of this playoffs talking, we reach the dark spot, shady, beaten part of the end of the road where we got to talk about NA.
Hey.
Look,
Let's talk about it. Woo! North America. All right, so Jockey, you're going to start us off on this one. Let's
All right.
talk about it.
All right. TSM. Solo's against his old team, who he didn't really leave on good terms with. I think TL will win that one 3-1.
Mm-hmm.
Because tactical, he is playing out of his mind right now. Like if you just look at that one Calista play against Cloud9. You just need to look at that and be like, okay, this guy is on another level of an ADC. He is really good right now.
Mm-hmm.
And I just don't think that Double Up can match up to that right now. But Jensen and Bjergsen, that's going to be a tougher one, though, because if they ban away his Zillion, then I think TL easily wins. If they don't ban his Zillion, then they're making a mistake. But I still think TL will win it 3-1. But I'm going to say that FlyQuest will win the final 3-2 because they have been very consistent throughout the entire season. Second place in the spring finals, and I think that they can finally take it this time because you have Power of Evil who's popping off. You have who else? You have Wild Turtle is being very consistent on his champions, and I think that
You've got Ignore, Solo, Santorin,
right? He's doing really good too. So I think that FlyQuest will get their redemption from the second place last season. I think they'll take the finals this split 3-2.
3-2. All right.
Yep.
Koi, what you got?
So I think personally it's hard to say. I think Bjergsen's carrying TSM on his back,
Mm-hmm.
and it's hurting. But I do think that Team Liquid will win it 3-1. Just because I think Team Liquid, to me, it just has on paper is just better. I think Double If is washed up now.
Washed up.
I'm a very big Double If fan. I've been watching him since CLG. He's one of the reasons why I mained AD carry for a while. I love him, but I do think he's washed up. He makes too many mistakes, right? And it's not just with TSM. He does it with every single team that he plays with, and he requires a lot of resources on him. And to me, I think that's where they fail. I think tactical and Core JJ are a better bot lane than Double Lip and Bio.
Okay, that's fair.
And I think the only way I also with the way that Jensen plays like Doving, where he'll leave his fucking lane, lose CS or whatever, and help out the rest of his team. And I still think Impact is Impact against what's his name?
Broken Blade.
Yeah, I think Impact is just the one with the most experience and the one who's going to show up at the end of the day. I think Team Liquid wins that 3-1, and then against FlyQuest, I think Team Liquid will have their vengeance, and I think Jat will actually pick the better.
Thanks,
role.
TL Jat.
Yeah,
TL
Jat. I think Jat will come up with a better strategy than what they did.
Yeah, hopefully this time something that involves banning Ashe and or playing it correctly. Holy. Man.
I do think that FlyQuests are good,
Okay.
Granted, I know a lot of NA teams, especially I know a lot of the NA casters and a lot of NA people don't think that FlyQuest is they're laughing at the fact that FlyQuest is their best team.
Oh.
I know
is our best team.
Yeah, but a lot of people are memeing on it, saying NA is such a joke that
FlyQuest themselves released it in the trailer. They're a lot of people don't feel like we should be here, and we kind of understand it.
Yeah, they understand, but I do think that they're just the better player.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
All right, Zoodiac, what you got?
So I think for the first series, it's kind of hard to tell because TSM is just so like hot right now. You know what I mean? Like they're on a roll, and they found a style which is basically just Bjergsen, please carry us. But what I think TL just what they do against teams is they find that one mistake and punish really hard. So that's why there's games where Broxa will be 0-0-0 at 20 because, dear God, you ask him to do anything before 10 minutes, he crumbles into a ball. So I think TL will beat TSM, although I think it will be 5 because I think TSM has way too many options. Bjergsen. I also think that double lift Biofrost will lose any lane that they pick because they've lost the Senna side of the Senna Ashe lane, and then they lost the Ashe
side of the Senna Ashe lane. Yeah.
They just lose the lane. And so, but I think TL will do that. But I think FlyQuest. Although I do think TL will probably get revenge on FlyQuest, and I think they'll learn from their mistakes. But that's no knock on FlyQuest because the team that I'm most excited for, and my excitement is peaking for NA. But I think if I had to pick, excited for it because I mean, what they showed in their capability to team fight and to like snowball early games into just wins is like really impressive. Considering that no one has been taking this team seriously.
Yeah.
And they took C9 to town. Like,
oh yeah,
they took them to town. Like, Blabber did not have at all in any game. Like, and so I think FlyQuest will surprise a lot of teams on the national area. I don't think they'll get out of groups, but I think they won't roll over and die. I mean, I think they're going to fight in every single game, and I think it's going to be hard to team fight them because not because of their talent, but because of their coordination, and because like their players are still good. Like Solo is still a good top laner. Wild Turtle and I forget who their support. I don't know.
Ignar,
yeah.
Ignar.
I mean, Ignar is probably a world-class support. I mean, he's been to a time. And, you know, Power Reveal's been to... So they have some experience on there. So I wouldn't discount FlyQuest for, you know, pulling a few upsets.
Same with Centauran, too.
Yeah.
Centauran's been... Like, these players have all been here. Like,
this
is not a new team.
It's just... I just think it's the name, honestly.
Yeah.
It's
I
the
think
name. That's why everybody makes fun of it. It's because of the name.
I think it's also recency bias and the fact that their last splits maybe haven't gone as well as they could have to kind of lend itself. Like if they had finished first or second in a couple of splits, you'd be like, oh okay, like it wouldn't feel strange. But because of the way that the spring split happened and then your last year, it feels odd. I think to see them in the position that they're in. So I definitely understand that.
Yeah,
I think that TL will probably win and be our 1 seed coming out because I think I don't see TL nice. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But regardless of that, I still think FlyQuest is the best team going into Worlds. I still because TL, like, dear God, if you put TL against top esports, like, guys, we need to scale. Guys, we need to scale.
Listen, chill out. You don't have to win the game right now. You can win it in 15 minutes.
So, and like TSM is just Bjergsen.
Yeah. I think for me on a personal level, it's very strange because on one hand, I am happy to see the FlyQuest. I am happy to see that we're having more teams that are getting into the upper echelon. I'm glad to see that we're not, even though NA, like a lot of other regions, I think all the regions kind of experience the problem of being top heavy. Like you look at Korea, there's a couple teams that are top heavy. You look at China, there's up until recently there were teams that were top heavy. Now that's been upended this year by a whole brand new 4 teams that are going to final or going to Worlds that have never been seen before. I think EU and NA still also suffer from it. I think you still have like, even though EU is getting better about it, I think NA is also getting better about teams kind of getting there. For instance, FlyQuest. Now we're seeing other teams that are making it to the finals. And so part of me is happy to see that. However, there is another part of me that is a little mad that we don't get to see TL and TSM in the finals. Because that, I think, was what a lot of people were expecting. That TL was going to be FlyQuest, FlyQuest would get relegated to the lower bracket, and then TSM would be FlyQuest, and we would have TL, TMSM at finals, which would admittedly have been very, very high, because it would have been a run back from 2018, which would have been hilarious. 2018, which would have been, 2019, which would have been hilarious.
I'm sorry, I think a lot of people expect the 9 to be there. Like,
but that's the other bit too. Is I think other people. I guess I'm saying that off of what we have now. I definitely agree that rolling back, people expected it to be Cloud9, and then Cloud9 would either then it would have been good either way. Like TSM versus Cloud9, Cloud9 versus TL, TL versus TL. Like it would have been good either way. But I think based off, and it's even stranger still that Cloud9 is not going to be going to Worlds for the first time in New York's history, which we'll hit that in a minute.
That's insane.
That's insane, and we'll cover that in just a second. But I think that based off what we have now with the results, I think that it was expected that TL would beat FlyQuest, and then TSM would beat FlyQuest, and then it would be TL TSM in the finals. But seeing as it's not, it's very hard for me to pick a team out of TL TSM that's going to win. For the simple fact is that there's ways that they both win. There's a lot of ways that they both win. And it's hard to see which one has the advantage because, so kind of going to some other information that I have. So I watched the interview that Travis Gaffer did with TL after they beat Cloud9. And what Doublelift was saying, he said something that was very, and he says this a lot too, especially when he goes to a new team, but for him it's very important because he's only been with TSM this split. And it's been a while since he's been back with TSM. So he's back with Bjergsen, he's got Biofrost with him. You know, they have Broken Blade, they have Spica, who, as an aside, I just learned, I figured out where his name comes from. It's turns out Spica is a star in the sky, like in space. Apparently, Spica is the name of the star. Not important.
Well,
anyways,
he doesn't play like it.
He doesn't play like it sometimes. But anyways, what he was talking about, when he gave the interview with Travis Gafford, one of the things that he talked about was that it's gelling. He said, we needed time to gel, and we haven't had it yet with having to adjust to go straight into the summer split. He's like, and then getting back with Bjergsen, having Biofrost. He's like, and having players in the positions that they're supposed to be in. He said, I don't think the Treats was bad. He's like, Treats did things for us that we needed in order to make progress in the season and in order to make headway in the playoffs. He's like, but if I had to choose, he's like, I know Biofrost. He and I know what we're going to do, and what we're going to do. He said, I know that I have better synergy with him than I do with Treats right now, simply because I haven't spent time with Treats. He said, and that's the thing that is holding us back, is that we need time to gel and to start working with each other and synergizing each other with the way that we're supposed to. That was, for me, on show when they beat Cloud9. When they beat Cloud9 3-1 and look really clean doing it, that shows to me that team does, in fact, need time to work with each other, that they need time to get used to each other. And that's very frightening, because if that's the case, that means that they're ramping up going into finals. That means that they're getting stronger going into a game like TL. Versus TL, who was already in winner's bracket finals, they lose and drop down to loser's bracket. They don't have any momentum. So there's no momentum for them going forward of like, oh, we've already won a couple of games, we beat FlyQuest, or we're coming off a really successful regular split and we're going to carry that momentum. Well, they didn't. They came off arguably their best regular, which is not arguably, it is their best regular season ever. They don't carry that momentum into the playoffs, so they lose versus FlyQuest. Now they're in lower bracket against a ramping up TSM, and it's like you're really hard pressed to say that TL wins that game, especially when you look at their draft versus FlyQuest. Like, at no point did I feel comfortable with any of Team Liquid's drafts. Like, their drafts felt clunky. They didn't feel like they synergized. There were picks that I didn't understand, and it didn't feel like it fit the players. So if that's the Team Liquid that you're taking into versus TSM, for me, based off of momentum and recency bias, I don't see how you pick TL over TSM. I feel like TSM beats TL pretty handily and then moves on and beats FlyQuest. So that's my take of it. I think that realistically, and don't get me wrong, I'm a huge TL supporter. I'm a Doublelift supporter. I'm a big fan of both. I wish we were getting both in the finals, but if I had to make a prediction right now, I would say that TSM probably beats TL 3-1, maybe 3-2 if it gets really competitive, but I think it's more likely to be a 3-1. And I think they move on and they beat FlyQuest pretty handily. I think they beat FlyQuest 3-0 if they beat TL. If they beat TL 3-1, they move on and they beat FlyQuest 3-0.
Yeah. Then
I could see that. I can see
that. Like, I don't think TSM's like that bad.
Mm-hmm.
Just to me that I think that Team Liquid will end up looking at what they did wrong against FlyQuest and just be like, okay, well, here's what we need to do against TSM and how we can beat them. I think Jat's going to do a better job than what he did last week, right?
Mm-hmm.
For sure. But I can see TSM just taking that spot from them, you know.
Yeah. Especially if like Yerksen pops off on his Twisted Fate or something like that. If he gets like one of his power picks, one of his staple picks, like I don't see any way that TL could fight off that.
Yeah, it's very hard to ban him out too.
Yeah, I mean, like,
really hard.
GG Golden Guardians tried to do that, but they still lost them eventually. But yes, but then if Yerksen doesn't, it falls onto Double Lift, and Double Lift, like, he can be a wild card, I would say. If he when he pops off, he can really pop off, and when he slumps, you can tell he really slumps.
Yeah. All right.
But,
so we hit on it a second ago, but I want to go back to it. So reactions to Cloud9 not making Worlds. Oh boy.
I am very surprised by that because like they were doing so good in the spring. I think 17-1 in the spring. Then they started 9-0 in the summer, made it halfway through summer, completely like fantastic. They didn't drop a single game.
Mm-hmm.
Then eventually they just like dropped the ball somehow. And in the playoffs, to me, it became a little bit clear that they were like very stubborn with their drafts, especially against was it TSM, I think, where they drafted Ezreal Yumi every single game, even though it kept failing. And there was a stat that I saw that said that whenever they played Ezreal and Yumi, they were like 1-5 or 1-4, something like that. But when they played literally any other ADC, they never lost. So like. I think it's very, very hard on maybe Reaper, I would think, because like they didn't really change anything much in their draft, especially with the bot lane. Like if the bot lane was different, then maybe they could be in this position right now. But since they were so stubborn with Ezreal Yumi against TSM, like I think that will kill them, and I think that could be sort of said throughout the last half of the summer split that they're very stubborn with their drafts.
Gotcha.
Yeah, they're. I think Reaper kind of has a big part of it. Reaper to me is a good coach, but he also does. He's also one of those risk takers, you know. Like he sees something that to me, he sees something is like, and then he over exaggerates what they're gonna do.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Right? Like. I'll see him like, oh, they're picking this. I'm just gonna throw a random pick, but it doesn't actually happen. But like, oh, they're playing like Nautilus mid. Okay, well that means we just gotta work around this, and this, and then the drafts become like actually garbage. You know, it does that make sense, right?
He sees one element of something and reads too far into it.
Yeah,
and then
he reads too far into it.
Yeah.
I think that's a lot of the reasons why Cloud9 got eliminated. I really hate it that they I really hate that that Cloud9 didn't make it, because to me Cloud9 has the most potential to get out of group stages. And get out, well, just in general, to get out of groups.
Internationally,
they're the best. Like, whenever they go to Worlds, they show up. Even if they were in regulations and they were third place or last one, they show up, you know. Compared to TSM and, like, CLG or any Worlds teams that has shown to Worlds, their Cloud9 has always showed up. You know, And that's where I feel like the only disappointment that I have like about C9 not making it to World.
I think we would all unanimously agree that like if we could replace one team, we would probably replace FlyQuest with Cloud9.
Yeah.
That's rough.
I think, although to be fair, that's just because of the name brand. I think
That's fair.
FlyQuest is still good. It's just Cloud9, TSM, Team Liquid. Those are teams that have made Worlds before, so we would rather have them on there.
Yeah, in my opinion, if I could, I would actually swap out TSM with Cloud9 because
Really?
Yeah, because in my mind, like TSM is too reliant on Bjergsen to help them get out of certain situations. Like Bjergsen has to like we keep saying Bjergsen has to sometimes hard carry TSM through games. But with Cloud9, like if they were in their spring form, like they were, like you didn't need to rely on one person to carry the whole game.
You wouldn't be carrying.
You had Blabber, you had all these players that can hold up against their own. Whereas with TSM, it's very hard to do much without Bjergsen being in your back pocket.
Yeah, I think that's where it's going to take it.
Right. I think that the problem with what happened with Cloud9 is that. So I'm sure you guys remember Immortals from way back when.
Mm-hmm.
Not Ica, but Rainover and Huni.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The problem with them is that they beat teams so hard that when they did not beat a team before 15 minutes, they just didn't know it.
Yeah.
They just said, all right, we're behind. I guess we got to fight. And then they lost the fight. And they're like, all right, let's fight again. Like, the problem with Cloud9 is that they did not adapt at all to the meta.
Yeah.
Blabber, I love Blabber. He's an MVP, right?
Mm-hmm.
But can you please not play Graves, Lee Sin, Kindred every single game? He played a game of Rek'Sai where he went lethality. Now, I'm not a Rek'Sai player, but I don't think you take a lethality on Rek'Sai. That's like a self-made.
That's like an ARAM build.
Yeah.
In self-made, one time last year, he built iEdge on Rek'Sai. Like, Blabber, and I hate to criticize him so much, but Blabber just looks like he doesn't know what to do. Like, he's just lost.
Yeah.
Like, he's like, wait a minute, I don't have 5 kids. Like, I don't know what to do. And C9 just like, should we go help Blabber? I guess let's go help him. And then like they get wiped.
Yeah. Like, his big thing in the spring was Olaf. Like, Olaf was his main jungler. That's why it got banned virtually every time any team played against C9. They want to get rid of his Olaf, and when that's gone, they're like, what do we put him on? Like, his Lee Sin is not bad, but it's not that great, but I don't really think he can play that much else. Like, his Graves is very meh, and he can only really pop off on Olaf, and when you take away the Olaf, it's like, what do we do now?
Like, game 1, Kindred. Game 2, which is the game that they won, he played. Game 3, he played Rek'Sai. Game 4, he played... No, wait. Game 4, he played Rex. No, Game 4, he played Evelyn. And that was into Starner.
Yeah.
What?
Like, yeah. And so, like, just... C9 did not adapt at all.
Yeah.
They were still playing set top in the patch 10.18. They're the only team that played set top, I think, globally around that time.
Yeah.
Like, Niski, like, please stop giving Niski, like, Galio and Silas. Put him on Akali. Put him on Zoe. Pick Orianna.
Yeah.
Do stuff like that. And put, like, they just picked, like, 3 losing lanes. And said, all right, Blabber.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Like, so, honestly, like, I'm not disappointed. I'm disappointed. But after watching that TSM game...
You understand why it happened.
Yeah, like, I'm not shocked. And I'm not sad that they're not going. Because, like, they didn't deserve to go.
Yeah.
After what they showed against FlyQuest and TSM, they did not deserve. They would have just got rolled.
Yeah, in the form that they were in during the summer playoffs, they definitely wouldn't stand a chance against really any of the major regions.
So you bring that up, so we segue into that then. So expectations for North America at Worlds?
TSM, won't get out of groups. At TL, I don't know. Like they have the team, they have the players. Dude, you have Core JJ, you have Broxa, you have the players, you have the pieces. It's just a matter of if they actually show up. If they do, there's a world where I can see them getting out of groups, but we won't know any of that until the groups are actually drawn.
Yeah, Team Liquid's the only one that I can see making it out of group stages.
Yeah.
But also, again, if they end up getting the group of death.
Group of death.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Top esports.
What is that
Dragon
like?
X.
Let's hit that for a second. So, because we're moving international stuff, and I have some topics I want to take. So, like, what does the group of death look like this year?
Okay, I got it.
The group of death to me is top esports, G2/Fnatic, and then whatever Damon.
Damwon.
And
Well, you can't.
well, actually, to be honest with you, any China team, right? Fnatic or G2, and then one Korean team, and then an NA team. Like I think that's a group of death right there.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
I think mine would probably be top Dragon X, again G2 Fnatic.
Yeah.
That the poor NA team that has to get thrown into that group.
It may not be an NA team. It could be one of those.
It could be a
playing
wild
teams.
card, you know.
Could be a wild, yeah, for
if we
some
wanna-
wild
if we
cards.
wanna compete-
Hey, bud, welcome to the group stage. Hey, guess what you get? Group of death.
Guess what group you get?
Yeah.
It's like-
but yeah.
Like, could you imagine like the CIS team, like Unicorns of Love or Rainbow Seven or something like that? Like, hey, welcome to group stage. Oh, by the way, you're the group of death.
Have fun.
Yeah, by the way, here's Dragon X and top esports.
Yeah.
Oh, and G2 for good measure. See ya. Actually, that
Yeah.
brings up another question, though, because I noticed that a lot of teams were complaining about this last year, about how a lot of high-end teams were getting stuck in the same groups with each other. And SKT complained about this very, very vocally. They were like, bro, look at the group we're in. We are in a group of absolute killers, and only
It was
two of us
them
can make it out of this
Fnatic
group.
and-
Yeah.
I
And
remember
only
Rex
two-
was, like,
I-
talking about it.
I wonder if this format, the way that format has been running for Worlds, I wonder if it's any good, because while it's really cool matches that are up against each other. Don't get me wrong, that's great. But the problem is that there are teams that maybe would be knocked out in another format that aren't as good, that make it over other teams that might be better in the longer run of quarterfinals and stuff like that, in actual best of fives. But those teams don't get to go, and you have a lot of these really strong competitive teams that have to fight each other, and you don't get to see them go any further.
Yeah, I think that, to me, in my opinion, right, I think the way the world is now is based on RNG, right? Like on whatever group stages you're playing in, right? I think that's okay.
Yeah.
I think it's better to have it that way. That way there are chances of these other teams making a Cinderella story. You know,
Gotcha.
If you format it to a way, like, honestly, in my opinion, if you format it in a way like the way that like NBA or like NFL does their playoffs or world
The
championships,
1
right?
seed, the 2 seed.
Like the best top teams go here, like top seed versus like the bottom seed, it's gonna be boring as hell. We already know who's gonna win. If you put China, if you put like top esports versus Rainbow Seven, right?
You know who's
obviously,
winning that game.
We already know who's gonna win.
But
So-
but in defense of that, what if they don't win? What
I mean,
if
if they
Rainbow's
don't win, then like
Then
China's
hell
a
has
joke.
broken.
It was a fraud all along.
Yeah, like to me, I think the RNG setup in the way that China won 3 main regions and three
Okay, but let me ask you. So we
no.
brought that up and we laughed. But let me ask you a question though. So we talk about the good old boys not necessarily making it to Worlds. Like SKT might not make it, Gen.G might not make it. So that's basically Samsung Galaxy. Cloud9 didn't make it, so on and so forth, right? So we have a lot of FPX Invictus. We have a bunch of teams that are very experienced veterans of Worlds that are not coming back and may not be coming back. Even more of them may not be coming back. You have a lot of newcomers. Top JD, Sunning, LGD. all brand new teams. You've got Rogue, you've got Mad Lions, brand new teams. FlyQuest going to be a brand new team. I mean, you've got a bunch of teams that have never been there before. So that being said, they're the new kids on the block. Now, yes, some of those teams have players that have been there before. Some of those teams have, and then obviously the Chinese teams, really good teams. But does that mean that just because they're strong domestically, and they do have some players that have been in international, does that mean that they win or have any success at international tournament? Because they're the new kids on the block. They're not the SKTs. They're not the Fun Plus Phoenix or the Invictuses. These are brand new teams. Maybe this is NA's chance. Maybe. Go ahead.
So I think that comes down to like watching play. Like that's the reason I'm talking about like Sun. Like I like I said, I admit I've not watched my Sun. I mean, so I'm gonna have to go back and actually like watch them to see how they play, because I don't know. Like, because it's a bunch of players that I really have. You know what I mean? But there are some teams like Top Esports, like JGG Gaming, where they just look so unbelievably dominant in their region that like I can't imagine where TSM goes toe to toe with Top Esports. I just can't see it because Top Esports from China top down is just a much better region than NA. Like top down.
Yeah.
In terms of the talent on the roster, I don't think anyone's gonna sit here and say, yes, definitely beat the like. You know what I mean? And so I think that that's why, like the top two in China, Danwon and probably Dragonet, like those four, like I mean I think they're shoo-ins for. Like unless something ungodly happens. But other than that, I think we can see a lot of parity. Much like 2018, we can see a lot of parity in these groups. Again, depending on draw. Like it's all RNG. It's all RNG based.
Yeah.
If FlyQuest gets Danwon, I'm like, well, shit.
Oh yeah, no, that's
there's my bet.
Yeah, the consensus is there is it's probably over. So then let me ask you this then. Do you guys think that the LPL and LEC having an extra team each is going to affect things much, or?
Yeah, I think it affects a lot.
Yeah, it will, especially since
I think the LPL. I don't think the LEC.
Interesting.
Right. Yeah,
so
I think
LEC
is
Koi, go
not.
first and explain that. So why do you think that?
So like in I think in China it affects a lot. It just means like there's how many teams are in Worlds?
Well, there's
22.
3,
4, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13.
Those plans.
There was supposed to be 24, but Vietnam had to drop out, so it's only 22.
Oh yeah, because of Corona, right? Like two teams dropped out because of Corona, right?
Yeah, the Vietnam teams.
Okay, so in my eyes, right, it just gives them like what is it? I don't. My math might be 100% wrong, right? But it gives like China like a 25% more chance than everybody else, you know, to win Worlds basically.
Yeah.
I don't like that addition of like, oh hey, why don't instead of giving the wildcard regions a spot, because to me, I think there should be more wildcard regions.
I agree.
Yeah. I don't like the idea of play-in stages, right? It to me it's obvious that NA, EU, and China, right? They're obviously going to make it past play-in stages.
Yeah.
It's just big brain if they don't. If they don't, right? If an NA team, EU team, or China team doesn't like make it past play-in stages, right? They deserve to be relegated. I don't care what team it is. It could be TSM. It could be G2 playing in that play staging, right? If they lose in play-in stages, they deserve to be regulated, right?
Relegated.
Yeah. Like to me, I don't like the fact that they added two new, like an extra spot. I feel like it would be better if they give it to more of the wildcard regions, because to me, I don't know if you guys watch the other regions. Their games are exciting as hell. Like like I've seen Latin America play. they literally play a Moo still there. Like it's to me it's ridiculous. Like why in pro play, like especially in the NA region or the main regions, right? You never see a Moo in general, right? But in Latin America, Japan, and all that, they still play it. Like they still play these like cheese picks. I still see Annie and Garen being played. You know, like to me, it's just like those weird picks that like will catch like a lot of these teams off guard. You know, but at the end of the day, like especially in the main regions, right? They know how to play against that. Yeah. That's like that. If they see a Moo jungle, they said, "Oh, that's easy. We're just gonna shit on them." You know, we're just gonna take all their farm because the Moomoo's a weak jungler. You know.
Yeah.
So you would like to have seen those extra slots go to other minor regions.
Yeah, I'd rather see those extra slots go to minor regions so we can see what the actual world has to show. Gotcha. It's worlds for a reason, right?
I definitely agree.
Yeah,
I agree too.
Like
I agree with that.
And I think the current format is so rough for those regions because it's so stacked against them to try and get in to group stages and even get past that. Like it's almost impossible. And it's this weird duality because it's like, oh well, we can only give you another slot if you make it further. But then you only have one team representing that region. That region can't get more slots unless it gets further in the tournament. So like making it to group stage or in the quarters, so they can actually get another slot. And it's just like. It's this weird duality of like you won't help them, but then they can't succeed without the help. So, I definitely think it's a messed up system. I definitely think it should be changed. I don't like the play-in stage. I agree with you, Koi. I think that I don't know what the fix for that is. I don't know if it would be better to play. I don't know if it would be better to play a double round robin, a drawing stage for the play-in. So everyone goes straight to a play-in stage. Everyone draws, and you have groups. Everyone plays like a double round robin. Best like 4 teams. So like if you have groups of 6, and I'm messing up the math here, but like let's say you have a bunch of groups. There's 6 teams each group. Everyone plays double round robin, and then the best 4 teams then move on, and then double round robin from there, and then quarters, best of 5s, and you go on from there.
It's really hard in a game for like League of Legends to change the format because I think to me like this group stages stuff is probably the best format for them because if you do it like any other kind of like format, you do a double round, you do a normal bracket, you do double round robin, it just makes it makes it hard for like because we already know who's gonna win those matches. You know, at least with group stages, like there's a chance like if top Esports beats JD Gaming and somehow like Rainbow 7 manages to get 2 wins, you know, as long as top Esports beats G2 twice, you know, then Rainbow 7 can get out of group stages. I think those RNG chances are probably the best for the wildcard region, and I think that's the reason why they keep it, right? But I don't like the play-in stages. You know,
gotcha.
It makes it like only 2-3 teams from the group stages are gonna make it into groups, you know, and giving China and Europe an extra team. It's already hard enough for the wildcard regions to show their players, right, for Worlds. So now it's gonna be even harder with like. I'm assuming, and this is just me, right? The group stages, right? From what they take from play-ins, it's gonna be Team Liquid, Mad Lions, and LGD making it, and then maybe Unicorns of Love because Unicorns of Love has been, you know, part of the world's part of EU before, right? So technically, I don't even consider I consider Unicorns of Love to be EU in general. So I think those 4 teams are going to make it past. Although I have never watched Unicorns of Love since they got regulated, right?
Yeah.
So to me, it's just I already know that like just based on like the way the play-in stages are, those 4 teams are going to make it. At least in my eye, you know.
So then let me ask you guys this then, with that being kind of the general consensus then, do you think that if NA, because China has an extra slot, EU has an extra slot, they're the only ones that do, but even with those extra slots, they're not guaranteed victory, but with that being said, if in the off chance, you know, not off chance for EU, but maybe off chance for North America, but in the off chance that EU or NA makes it, is it a fluke because either EU had the extra slot or because there were so many extra teams from these major regions that they were killing each other off, and that like allowed North America to sneak in. Do you think it's a basically I'm asking, do you think it's a fluke if EU and NA wins it this year because of the kind of the format and the COVID stuff, or do you think it would be an earned victory?
I don't think it's a fluke because I mean, like we said, like the eastern regions of China and Korea, I mean, they obviously have 2 to 3 teams each that are just like everyone's like, oh yeah, these are favorites. These are some of the favorites. So if an EU team like G2 or Fnatic, I think those are the preliminary favorites. Or let's say somehow FlyQuest just sneak in the entire roster team SKT into the room and like win World. I don't think that's a fluke because I think like they earned it.
Yeah.
This Worlds, with how talented the teams are at this World, they earned it. They absolutely earned any victory that they get. You know what I mean? Any underdog will have to earn a victory. It's not like, oh, haha, we're actually just trolling this. Like, no, like you're gonna earn. People are gonna want to earn this, and so if an NA or EU team wins this whole thing, they totally earn it.
Yeah, especially with EU because like they've been going to the World Finals for the past 2 years, and each time they've been 3-0. So if they actually like make it this time, they'll definitely feel much more sense of accomplishment because like we finally like conquered these demons. We finally conquered these demon kings in the LPL. We finally achieved it. It won't be like something like picking a troll pick and just winging it. It's like they actually earned it because they worked, because they have beef with the LPL. They want to be like them, want to get better than them. So they will definitely earn it if they somehow pull off a win, pull off the world championship win.
Yeah, like I don't like as much as I want to say I don't think Rogue or FlyQuest deserve to go to Worlds. Yeah, in that region, but at the end of the day, they're at Worlds. And any victory that they get in this tournament, because like I'm gonna cut off everything once World starts. Everything in our past regions and past doesn't matter.
It's the same thing like with North American football. Like it doesn't matter once you get to the big stage.
Like you could lose. You could lose to the worst team. You could lose to you could lose to Origin all day, right? But once it doesn't matter anymore. You know, like once you get to Worlds, it's a whole new setup. It's a whole new idea. It's a whole new world, right? Yeah. Like it's like every team. Like if NA makes it past, like group stages, makes it to finals or whatever, right? They deserve it. If EU wins Worlds this year, they deserve it 100%. Each one of these teams worked hard to get here, and I'm not gonna discredit anything. And even if I think like Rogue shouldn't have made it, they're still at Worlds, and they deserve to go there. You know, like I don't think it'll be a fluke. I don't think that like any like even if a wild card region managed to make it to Worlds, right? It's not a fluke.
Yeah,
it's all hard work. It's like discrediting. It's like if we go back to like season 1 or season 2 of Worlds, right? Like, well, Fnatic technically never won Worlds, but in reality they did. Even though it was like, you know, like to me they did, and same with like TPA, Tepe Assassins. They deserved to win it, even if like they were a wildcard region. If you win Worlds, you deserve it. No one can undeniably discredit you or undeniably say that, oh well, you guys got lucky. No, it's like for anything, everybody else who didn't play against us got lucky. You know what I'm saying? Like that's
gotcha.
Right. Yeah, that's how I see it. Yeah.
That's a good way of looking at it. The reason I brought that up is because there's been discussion of, you know, is the 2020 season going to be the one that has an asterisk next to it, you know, next to whoever wins the game, like, oh, well, that was the COVID year or anything else. And I definitely think that that's unfounded. I definitely feel like if you get to the end and you win and you put forth the effort, that means you beat all the teams. Because all of the other teams are going to be in the same environment, same circumstances as you. And if you win that, then, you know, no one can take that from you.
Yeah, so it's not like the NBA or the MLB where they had to shorten their season or do like a big plan to finish up their season. Like with League of Legends, you can do it online, you can do it in your house.
Now, with that being said, though, so you bring shorten up though. So Worlds is starting this month. It's starting here in a couple of weeks, which means teams have next to no time to prepare. If you're LCK and if you're SKT, assuming they make it through the gauntlet, they have no time at all because their gauntlet takes a little while to play through. So my question is this: does that lack of preparation hurt teams, or does it make it more fun because now no one gets to take around and decide that they're going to set the meta? They just have to go into it raw. Oh, what's the take on that?
I think that let's say let's say SKT, for the sake of this argument, like let's say they run their gauntlet, right? I would say that SKT then becomes a favorite because they have so much momentum going into groups.
Yeah.
Like we just smashed our gauntlet, like, you know what I mean? Like we just.
So they come into Worlds hot.
Yeah, they come into Worlds hot as opposed to a team that has like months at a time off, not playing competitive games, not playing games that matter. It's like in the sports world, the teams that you should fear the most that are in playoff mode.
Yeah.
Like from a very long time ago. Like because they know what the intensity is like. So that you should, like, those are the teams you should fear, not the teams that are like, oh well, we're the number 1 seed, we haven't played anything competitive.
Yeah.
But how do you think that applies this season though with all the other teams? Because even though they're not going to be coming off the playoffs run necessarily, I mean it's only a week and a half downtime roughly. But after all these finals and stuff is done, because I think the 22nd is when everything kicks off. So it's not like teams have time to go boot camp somewhere. I mean they're going to be running into Worlds pretty much straight off their playoffs. So like what, even though SKT will be coming. Basically going from the gauntlet straight to Worlds, how do you guys feel about all the other regions? Like, are they going to be hot, cold? What's going on there?
So I'm going to take back to the other, like the past Worlds where the wildcard regions had play-ins, right? I think the good news about play-ins is that you have momentum. Like, there's a reason why those teams in the wildcard regions are able to beat NA and sometimes EU and even take a game off of China and LCK, right? Where, like, they have the momentum. Look, we already made, like, wildcard region already has a like hard enough to get into world stages because you have to go from your region, you have to be number 1 in your region, then you have to be number 1 in nationals, and you have to be number 1 in like whatever, you have to be like like you have to get past play-ins, right? Those teams to me are the ones that are scary, right? Even though we know they're not going to win worlds, right? Because everyone takes them, like, they don't take them seriously, right? Like they will have some momentum and they will take games and they will make and break teams. Like that's why CLG, like that one season when CLG was actually probably at the peak, right? They got beat by that Al team. What was he?
Alphys Nox Luna.
Yeah, that's why they got beat by them, is because they had the momentum.
I remember that speech.
Yeah, that speech, that momentum is it's the only reason why these wildcard regions are doing so well. And it's also the same with C9, right? Like C9 had to go from play-ins. Like we already know they were gonna go to Worlds, right? And they were gonna make it past play-ins, but they built that momentum all the way up to like semifinals, right? So
going off what you're saying, like League of Legends is a momentum game. Like you come off a win, you keep adding on those wins. Like it's all about momentum. So like if a team like wins a final or something, they're like on the high road. They're doing really. So I think that this will be all based on momentum and things like that. Like if SKT clears their gauntlet and goes into Worlds, I would agree that they would be a favorite because they have the momentum on their side from how good they played in the gauntlet. So it basically all just comes down to which team at the time will be hot and which teams will be cold, in my opinion.
Okay. Yeah. All right, so I think that covers everything we kind of wanted to focus on for Worlds, which try not to be systematic about this, but I was just trying to think if there's anything else that we kind of missed for Worlds. I think that covers everything. So, related to Worlds, segue into this then, let's talk about this patch. Let's talk about these broken champions that Riot keeps trying to package off and say, oh, it's balanced. Let's talk about Yone. Let's talk about Lillia.
So, wait, what patch is it going to be?
10-18, I think. Don't quote me. 10-18 or 10-19?
10-19, Yone will be just.
Yeah, Yone won't be a factor in this.
Oh, he won't? Oh, thank God. I don't want to watch.
Okay, no.
They don't want to have something like that.
Oh, you actually want Yone, don't you, Zoodiac?
I do.
Ah, what?
Because we're seeing the best players on the world play a high skill expression champion in mid lane. Like,
Okay, listen, high skill expression is not the term I would use.
Azir for so much. I can only see Corki Azir for so long.
It gets hard for a while.
Wait, which one's 10.19?
No, the one
Is it the one coming up?
it will be soon. It's 10:18 right now.
It's the Samira patch.
It's the Samira
Oh,
patch.
okay.
Thank God she won't be enabled. We're going to talk about her as well. So let's talk about Yone. On record, I want everybody to understand, I hate this champion. I hate it with all of my heart. I don't like that a W can get rid of every ability, every ult that you could throw on it, including, but not limited to, Malzahar Suppression, Sejuani ult, Nocturne ult, if he, or not ult, but Nocturne E with the Fear. It can get rid of Mordekaiser ult.
That's cool.
We're talking about his
Like,
right? Solo
his
down.
his thing where he turns into a rubber band, like he goes,
E.
yeah, his E.
Full unbound.
I don't like
Wait,
that
is
it.
Yone?
Yes.
Yeah. So with me and Yone, I think Yone's like he's kind of like he's like obviously.
Yeah.
I mean, but in terms of the game, I think he's also like Yasuo because he's one of the hardest 2-item power spikes in the game. Like probably the hardest 2-item power spike in the game. But I think that there are people on Reddit who are like, oh my god, he's released Camille, he's released Zoe, like
Okay, he's not released Zoe. He's not released Zoe. Released Zoe was
but, like,
busted.
that's what people do when champions like this. It's like, oh my god, they're like.
Just want to say real quick, I looked it up and it'll be patch 10.19. That will be world's patch.
So it will be next patch.
So it'll be so Yone won't be enabled.
Samira will not be enabled.
So Yone and
Samira will not.
but Lillia
Yone
will.
and Sam-
But will Lillia be?
Yone won't be.
Oh
Lillia
boy.
will be.
All right. So what's
Yone
the?
will be- they don't wanna beat
Okay.
up on it.
Sure.
I think that Yone is still really strong right now because of his just ridiculous amounts of mobility and get in and get out. You know what I mean? But like I've seen games where Yone's like, all right, I blind pick Yone. I'm like, all right, sweet. I picked Jax. Good game. Like,
like Yone.
I think like Yasuo, where if you really want to make him cheese, pick like some top laner, pick a top laner, and like he'll have no fun.
Yeah, I think once Yone will be enabled to be played professionally, he I think won't be like on top on like lists like Orion or definitely interesting to see.
I think
Because,
he. Go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
Because like you said earlier, Zodiac, his mobility is straight up nuts. Like you can use your R to like dash through walls or make a quick escape or things like that. Like his mobility is really like only comparable to like Yasuo's, and that's kind of tough.
Yasuo has more situational in lane mobility.
Yeah.
Yone has like
Yone's mobile. Period. End of discussion.
Yeah.
I think for me, I think in pro play, I think you start to see Yone come out in answers to either bruisers or assassins. I don't think you see him come out against control mages because I think control mages is still. I think
Absolutely
control.
not.
No, absolutely. Yeah, Yone into Syndra. Sure, I'll take that matchup.
Good game.
Yeah, good game. Yeah, I think control mage is still going to be an overreaching part of the meta. I think it's that way all the time. Like control mages are never out. Control mages are never out. Like Ryze, even though you hate to see it, like Ryze is always good. Like Azir is always good. Orianna, Syndra, Corki, like Malzahar, even if you're playing fake against Faker, Malzahar is fine. Like those mages. Yeah, ask Faker how he feels about Malzahar. But what I'm trying to say is like those control mages are always situationally good, but I think Yone is a set piece that is almost always going to be able to be pulled out against like things like flex picks. Like when people try and pull out a pocket pick, let's say somebody tries to pull out an Akali, or they try to run some kind of bruiser, mid lane, like they run a Galio or something like that. I think I think there's a world where Yone comes out, like, some people would, like, it used to be, Zed and Yasuo, you used to see stuff like that. You don't see them anymore because they have counters. Well, I think Yone, there's not a lot that counters Yone. He's good in a lot of situations, and I think that as long as you're not playing against control mages, you'll see him unless he's banned. That's my take on him. I think he's...
If we're talking about an assassin that will be played, not as an AD carry, Samira will be played as an... I hate to be the bearer of bad news to people that think she can be played as an AD carry.
She can't be. No, she can't
she's
be.
An assassin.
Caitlyn's gonna...
She's going to be played like Kiana, where once you start roaming, you just leave your lane.
I think she goes top lane. I think the only lane she's viable in is top lane. I'll be real. I don't see a lane where she's gonna win mid. Like I don't see any matchups where she wins mid. I think top lane. I think she becomes an answer to Gangplank. I think she becomes a non-Camille, non-Vladimir answer to Gangplank.
But Esports Anthony, she has a wind wall on W, and look at these dashes. Oh,
listen, that wind wall's not gonna stop me from flashing or like flashing over wall and killing you. That wind wall will do you as much good as it does Yasuo. Like I'll just walk around it.
It's so frustrating to try to explain to other. Like again, I'm not a super player, right? I mean, I have friends who are higher ranked than me as well. But it's so frustrating to try to explain to them that like this champion is not release Zoe or release Camille.
No,
like,
she's gonna be fine.
Like she's gonna be fun, but she's gonna be fine.
Yeah.
Because, dear God, you want to see a day one Samira player? That's like probably an auto loss.
Yeah. I mean,
like, again, she's a very high skill expression champion. Where if you know what you're doing on her, fine.
She's borderline Aphelios with skill expression though too. Like you have to have you almost have to have. It's not quite Aphelios. Like Aphelios, I feel like you have to have a degree to play that champion. I feel like it's like I don't understand that champion's combos at all. I just know
I have just about like 50 games of Aphelios played this season.
I haven't touched him. I have not touched the champion. I think I touched the champion once in ARAM, and that was it. And I'm like, nope, not interested. Right. But I definitely think that she's going to be a high skill expression champion. I definitely don't think that she's going to be broken, but she's not going to be like Yone has been, like Lillia's been. Like, Lillia is ridiculous. Like
Lillia's just nuts.
Like
absolutely nuts.
Like her farm speed is ridiculous. Like it's not healthy. Don't get me wrong. If you catch her in her first rotation of camps, like you will kill her almost instantly. Like she doesn't farm healthy at all. She's like huge. She relies so heavily on kiting camps that it's almost ridiculous. But, like, if you don't kill her within the first 10 minutes, the rest of your game is just spent, like rolling in misery as she just sleeps everyone from halfway across the map.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but, like, that's the thing. Out of these three, like, if I had to rank the three new champions, Samira... Sorry, I didn't mean to do that. Samira, Yone, and Lillia, it'd be Lillia, Yone, Samira.
Yeah.
That's how I'd rank them. How, like, just absurd they are. Because Lillia is like, she's so simple, but it's just nuts.
It's nuts.
Like, how much ridiculous damage she does. It's like insane. Yone is very high skill expression, but I definitely understand every point that you make, and I agree to a lot of them. And Samira, I don't think... I don't.
I think if anything, I think she'll probably need a buff after a release. Because the problem is the damage of her kit is hard to land. It's hard to sustain that damage. It's harder to sustain the Gangplank. Like at least with Gangplank, you can walk up, Q somebody, all right, you got a grass proc, just rinse and repeat as long as you've got cookies and oranges. Like you're fine. But like with Samira, it's like I feel like it's gonna be hard for that champion initially. I don't think it's gonna be strong enough on release. I think they'll
because the thing is, I know her passive is like where if someone CCs her, like that's the counter to what everyone's. Well, what if you have a CC support? I'm like, yeah. Well, if you have a CC support, see, you're adding another variable. That
I don't know. Nautilus has played quite a bit. I don't know. Nautilus has played quite a bit.
But like, what happens if you support pick Soraka?
Well, you just win the game because Soraka's broken.
That's true. Janna. What if they pick Janna?
Oh god.
Like you see what I mean? Like
on a list of things I don't want to see at Worlds, I don't want to see a single Janna or a single Lulu. I do not want to see those champions at all.
But like,
I'm pretty sure you both from LPS team at least.
Like Samira is just like there's too many variables for me personally for her to be played as an AD carry. Now if you're telling me she could be played in the mid lane or a top lane, yeah, I can totally see that. or even as a jungler, if her clear is fine, like I could totally see her as a jungler. I just can't see her as a AD carry relying on a support to do something for her to do anything in lane.
Honestly, like I could probably see her playing support too. I just can't see her play ADC.
Do you think she might be something like a Pyke kind of support?
Yeah, like I see that more than I can see her play as an ADC. Like like her gun abilities and stuff, that looks cool, but like to me,
practical application.
Yeah, like she looks like a bruiser to me, or an assassin. That's what she kind of looks like.
She could be a mid laner, maybe like an anti-cat mid laner, like an anti-echo or a Fizz. Like I could see those matchups.
I think she can go up against any of the, like, if there's an assassin mid lane, she can keep up with them.
Yeah. So let me ask you a question then. So we're talking about these champions. There's kind of an overarching census going on right now that Riot is releasing champions very, very rapidly. And people are, I think there's a kind of a current undercurrent of like concern of like, why is Riot trying to ramp up the amount of champions they're releasing? Like, is it possible that they're not going to be doing, like, after they're trying to reach a certain point to where now they're not going to work on the game anymore? There's also kind of the consensus of like Riot is releasing too many champions at one time. Like there's too many champions to learn. There's also an even bigger undercurrent of, hey, there are too many champions in the game. Where do you guys feel about that?
So I don't know.
Oh, go ahead.
So I don't know if you guys saw, but Seraphine is the quote unquote the new KDA member or collab member. I don't know if you guys saw. Take a look at the League of Legends tweet today.
That image looks so bad. I don't know if you saw the image. That
what is it?
It looks weird. It's like if you look at the League of Legends Twitter, they post KDA has their own thing, and so Seraphine has been something that's been out for a while, right? That everyone's saying is going to be the new champion when Worlds comes out, and basically, if she is another champion coming out, right? It's going to be basically what 4 or 5 brand new champions within within this course of 5 months or something, right? Or no,
I'm not seeing it.
months.
Where was this at? I'm looking at their Twitter. It's not there.
It's the League of Legends. League of Legends retweeted it. Yeah, I can send it in a group chat.
Okay.
But basically, this is the new. They're quote unquote. This is what they're saying is the new champion that.
No, I see it. Wait, which one?
Yeah.
Okay, so
Seraphine.
I see. Is that the one in the middle?
Yeah, the one in the middle.
The one in the middle.
So they say if this is actually a champion, right? That is 5 within the next within 3-4 months that they have released a new champion.
And for me, that's concerning because that spells two things: either they're just they've got too much time on their hand and they're trying to keep, or they're trying to keep everybody busy, or to me, my concerning underlying fear is that they're trying to ramp up to reach a point where they're not going to be working on the game anymore, which I think is unfounded because people have been saying that for years. But the difference is we're over 160 champions now. What's going on
what
here?
they end up doing is kind of what Dota does, right? Where they have so many champions and or heroes or whatever that they're gonna do a seasonal thing, so that way only these champions
like Overwatch did, which was a terrible idea. In
Overwatch, it's a terrible idea because there's not enough. There's
not
only
enough champions.
20. There's only 30 champions.
Yeah.
No.
It's not. Well, and I guess that's fair. It's not like League where it's not like we only have 20 or 30 champions. We have over 160 champions.
Yeah. So in compare, and plus they did it basically weekly and not seasonally, right?
Yeah.
That's where Overwatch League kind of fucked up. But I feel if they do it like Dota, where during this year only these certain characters can play. And obviously that's a big problem because if they do that competitively, they can't do that for solo queue because there are a lot of one tricks, but it does force those one tricks to play something else.
I kind of disagree there though. I think it would be a good thing. I think because Riot's big thing is they always have a problem of when they look at data of the amount that a champion gets played, right? So there are obviously champions that get played as much. So by forcing rotations of characters, you're kind of very nicely shoving players forward to say, hey, go get off your one trick, go try something new, and then they increase interest for a character, they get feedback on it, and it increases playtime so that way all the champions are actually getting played. Now, obviously, if you're running a rotation, some champions will get played more than others, some maybe not even get played at all, but at least you're increasing diversity. I don't know if that would be a terrible thing. I guess it's just a thing of like, mentally, in theory, it sounds okay, but I'm not sure I would feel about it if it was actually forced and I actually had to deal with that, because, like, I like Malzahar, so I don't know how it would feel if, like, I couldn't play Malzahar when I'm trying to rank.
Yeah,
You know?
exactly. So that's why it's like a lot of, like, I feel like, to me, personally, I feel like competitively, it's the best idea, right? You have 150 and, like, half the characters, like, I mean, to be fair, like, have, like, 90% of the characters can't even be played because they're not meta, right?
Yeah.
So like I'm just saying, like if they ban, like if they remove like the ones that are like always used, like Trundle and like Zed, and or not like Zed, but Trundle and Callista and like Caitlyn, they ban all that thing for one season, the meta shifts, and it makes balancing, to me at least, a little bit easier.
Yeah, because if you're just removing a portion of the champions, and then actually too, going off that theory, that actually makes even more sense too, because if you're removing a portion of those champions, now your balancing team has time to go back and address the issues with those champions.
Yeah. So like that way, like that way the it makes it so that way, like, your balancing team has less to worry about. They don't have to worry about them when they come out again, right?
Yep.
And now there's even more bans,
But
because 10 bans in pro play is not enough.
So
It is not enough at all. I
So-
think there needs to be more bans.
So I just read on this was the champion roadmap in June. So this is a quote from it. That being said, we think it's important for all players to get at least one. That way they have something new to try and can maybe even add a new champ to the rotation or the main. With that goal, we felt like it was important to bold letters try and release at least 6 new champions a year, 1 for each position, with the exception of mid lane, where we're targeting 2.
how many are we at
So
this
we-
year? We have Yone.
We're at Samira 6.
Samira would be 6. So if
It's
they release
Aurelio,
Seraphine,
Set, Senna, of Yone, Lillia, Samira,
so if they release Seraphine this year, it would be 7.
which they're not, because
Which
still-
they probably
they're
won't.
still doing the-
They'll
they're still
announce.
doing
I
the
would
new
imagine
stuff.
they'll announce her at Worlds as a teaser, and then they won't
Yeah.
release her until the actual next season. Which
Yeah.
makes sense to
Got
me.
to remember, what you've got to remember though is that we had a huge drought where no new content came in. It was like the Volibear update and then nothing until Spirit Blossom,
Mhm.
right? Because of
Yeah.
COVID. So that's why there's this huge. Because I'm sure if it didn't happen, Spirit Blossom happens in April.
Yeah.
So there's this. So that's why there's this such a fast run, and why we're coming out of one big event and another is because they had Spirit Blossom planned for March, April, and that spring, and now like, well, we still want to do this event, so let's just do it back to back. So
Yeah.
that's why it feels like there's a lot more stuff getting thrown at us because they didn't have time to work on this because of when the pandemic started.
Yeah.
So
I
it's
think.
it's not like they're like, we're gonna stop the game and we're gonna start seasonal rotation, but that's why League updates their champions. That's
Yeah.
why champions
Yeah.
like Mordekaiser, who used to just take Dragon and then get Dragon as a minion, are not champions.
Yeah, like I think, like, yeah, I agree. Like, it's like the COVID was kind of the big factor of why all these champions are being released right now, right?
Yeah.
But I also think that, like, I also do feel like that's just like, if that isn't the reason, I feel like this ban thing still could work out competitive. That way we see.
I think an English fans would be fine.
Yeah.
I mean, but I also do think that like, I mean, like there's 2 trains of thoughts whenever you balance your game. You either make everyone strong, so then everyone's balanced, or you actually like try to fix the nooks and cranny problems of your game.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
like League it's a revolving system, right? People often always flame they're not nerfing X champion. Well, it's also like, is this champion really? I hate sorry to all of reviews that might get offended. Is the champion really that strong?
Or are you just shit at the game? Yeah, no, that's a fair ask, and most people aren't willing to admit that. Just doing the math, so with Samira, it would be 151 champions,
Yes.
which I don't remember how many Dota has. That's a lot of champions.
Yes.
I wouldn't be opposed to a rotation. I'll be honest with you. I think a competitive rotation. Would be fine. I think if you want to keep blinds and normals, full champion pool, that's fine. But I think a competitive rotation would be healthy for the game. I think it would be healthy for the development of the game in order to balance champions, and I think it would make the professional scene more interesting because now we're not seeing the same crap over and over again. We're not seeing Azir and, we're not seeing a bunch of, Caitlyn and Jin, and we're not seeing a bunch of Nautilus, and we're not seeing, we don't have to worry about Lulu and Janna coming back, and we're seeing more stuff. Like, we're seeing people playing those junglers. Like, we're seeing people play Shaco and Evelynn and Kha'Zix in the jungle. We're seeing people play creative stuff top lane, like, just anything that we don't see right now. We get to see more Wukong. We get to see more Zed and more Talon and just stuff that we don't get to see hardly ever because it's not competitively viable. Well, the best way to make it competitively viable is to eliminate all the other stuff.
So the only reason I disagree with that is it's because how often are you going to have these rotations? Are you doing them weekly? Are you doing them bi-weekly?
So actually, I have an answer for that, and this picks as one of the other issues that Doublelift brought up in a video a long time ago. Everyone, I think, has seen his video, the one that he made about the competitive scene and stuff for pro players and stuff like that. It's a very famous video. He brought up, he mentioned something that I think hasn't been addressed, which is the frequency of patches, right? Frequency of patches can kill a game, and I don't know how you guys feel about how often League is updated. I personally think that I would like the patches to be a little bit slower, but more meaningful. So I would say every month, at the end of the month, you get a new patch. At the end of that month, the rotation changes. And here's why I say a month. For your casual players, a month is plenty of time because they're not really going to care for one patch to the next except for when wherever their champion gets pulled, gets changed, right? So for the casual player, it doesn't hurt them too badly because if they're not playing very hardcore in the competitive scene, then they're not going to worry about it. So, for instance, like your challenger players, your master players, all that stuff, those people are going to be, whose pretty much their life it is just play professional league, or league competitively, right? For those competitive people, a month is more than enough time because during the course of that month, they will have played at least a dozen different champions in order to maintain or raise their rankings, like in Challenger, or to get higher tier or anything like that. So a month is plenty of time for them to have learned a meta, picked a couple champions they're good at, and climb or maintain position with. So where month to month, it would not hurt them that badly. Month, I think, is a reasonable time frame to have a patch. I also think that for casual players, it's nicer because now, instead of like every couple of weeks, they're not worrying about a patch coming out that's going to change everything on the way they play. So they at least have a month to month to enjoy the game, and they have more time to adapt to that patch. Whereas what's the rough time frame on a patch release now? Like every 2 weeks, like every 20 or so days, like. That's a lot.
Every 2 weeks, I think.
It's a lot.
So here's okay. So as I said, I was a tier 2 Overwatch player. Here's my problem with one big slow patch. It ruins the game.
Mm-hmm.
See.
To me, and Overwatch is a big example. We don't get a fucking patch every 2 months. It was ridiculous to me. It is what made me quit the game. It's where we would have there would only be back then it was seasons were 3-4 months, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you'd have one big patch every other month, right? So basically every 2 months you'd have a big patch, and then they don't change anything about it. There's no hot fixes, there's no nerfs, there's no bugs. So for an entire 2 months, this is the meta, and if you're not playing the meta, you lose the game. A big thing is you guys don't follow Overwatch or something?
I do a little bit.
But
yes.
you guys know about GOATs.
Yes.
Meta, right?
Oh God, yeah.
GOATs meta to me, for basically about 6 months about no actual good nerfs, no actual. When goats first came out, right? By the way, fun fact: my team was the one who invented goats. Goats did not actually invent it. We played against them in the scrim, and we shitted on them with that exact comp, and then they started using it. So I'm, But anyways,
Take that with you to your grave.
yeah, take that to my grave.
Take that to my grave.
Regardless of what happened, right? Like, basically for an entire 3 months, right? We had to play against the same. We had to watch the same 3 comps over and over and over again.
Well, maybe you shouldn't have invented it.
Yeah, yeah, but like,
I'm kidding, obviously.
Imagine that on League of Legends, where basically, I know there's a lot more variety in League of Legends, right? But
Yeah.
if I saw the same thing over and over again, right, I would lose it.
So you're worried about slavery to meta then?
Yeah, basically, like the slaveness to the meta, and like of how, like, whether a team, like, it's basically League of Legends is very different because it's variety, not versus like Overwatch, where basically you can have the same matchups, right? And at that point, if you have the same matchups, it's all mirror comps, right? Like, it's basically all mechanics at that point, right? I feel like that's where my problem is with League, with big patches, and I like the slower small patches where the hot fixes and nerfs are happening every 2 weeks, 3 weeks, because it changes the game during that point.
So to build off what you're saying, it's like I mentioned before with funneling. Funneling was the most unfun patch to play on. Like, according to every pro player, no one had fun playing it. So imagine funneling for a month.
Oh yeah, no, that would drive me insane. Having to play, and then imagine not running funneling against it.
Imagine the Sona Lux bot lane.
Oh God, no.
And the thing is, in League, since you can't mirror, if you don't play Sona Lux, you lose. You just lose the game. Like, it's just over.
So what you're saying is we should bring back mirror.
No, because then there's no point in drafting.
The point in drafting.
But that's the thing why League does it so fast. It's because they still want these champions to be viable without gutting them. It's like Overwatch, and I know because I follow Overwatch. So I play a shit ton of Sigma, right?
Yeah.
They gutted Sigma. They just gutted him. Like, he can't be played at all anymore.
Yeah.
And so, like, can you imagine, like, you're a Malzahar player, right, Anthony?
Yeah.
And they just gut him. Like, you cannot play him.
See, here's the thing, though. Here's the problem. Okay, here's the problem, though. I can't imagine that because they did gut him. They took all of his damage and took all of his voidlings. Now I only get 3 crappy voidlings. I used to get 7. Now I only get 3.
But you see what I mean?
Yeah, no. It sucks. Like logging into the patch and seeing your favorite champion just like dead.
Yeah.
But it's not only. It's like for anyone who wants to play him. So then no one wants to play this character or this champion because they're just garbage. Like, because you just can't win on them. Like, Udyr, as much as I may meme Udyr for how bad he is, people still play Udyr.
People climb the challenger with Udyr.
Somewhat viable. Yeah. Like, he's still viable somewhat.
Taking to the point, more exaggerating it, I'm talking about, like, right now in Overwatch, right? Main tank is not a thing. You cannot play main tank. There's no shields. If you play shields right now, you're throwing the game. And that's how Overwatch is. So I'm going to say that patch came out about, like, what, 2 weeks ago, right? 1 or 2 weeks ago, right?
It was 1 or 2 weeks ago.
And now, for the next month or two, you will only be able to play Roadhog and Zarya. And, like, there's no changing it. The meta right now for Overwatch is complete garbage. And I don't want that to happen with League. Like, League to me has to be constantly be changing. It's a MOBA. You got to keep doing this and that, right? And it's different. There's no mirror matchups. There's no blind pick games anymore. So, like, to me, if they start doing those month patches, those big month patches, the meta is going to be stuck the same way. And I know why pro players want it that way, so that way they can keep practicing in that meta for a while rather than, like, having it change every 3 weeks, you know?
Yeah.
Pro players pick up, like, a very, very minute part of the community.
Yeah.
All League community.
Yeah.
Like, it's like what they did with Overwatch. it's like they cater to that small, minute portion of the Overwatch community rather than the entire Overwatch community.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
again, the way Overwatch was before, where everything's strong, so everything works. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That was fine.
Mhm.
But like making it very clear, this is good, this is bad, and then keeping that from like I never thought I'd see Eve in a pro again, and then they buffed Eve,
I didn't
and
either.
then I see her everywhere. You know what I mean? Like Champions League will buff champions because they want to see it.
Yeah.
Like they will buff they are buffing Kaisa. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know why. Like, and it just you have to just wait. Like that's all I can say. You have to just wait. You have to just like understand that. Hey, Syndra, Ori, like right now they're just the best champion, and there will be times where Ori is not playable. Like
last year.
yeah, like last year. Last
Yeah.
year, if you played Ori, you were just giga throwing.
I
Yeah.
enjoyed playing Malzahar against Ori so much last year. Like, you can't do shit. And then this year, Ori's strong again. I'm like, oh god, it's an Ori.
And now you're like shit.
I have, as an aside, I have one guy that I became friends with, and I was trash talking him so hard last year. I was destroying his Ori, and I played against him. I was in a ranked game, and I somehow ended up in the same lobby as him, and he was an Ori on the side of me. Oh, that game was so bad. Oh,
Yeah, it's like
it was bad.
Named up.
Yeah.
He typed at me. The only thing he said all game was, he texted and said, shouldn't have been talking shit. And I was like, oh, kept flashing me under
like
tower.
it's very much. Like, I hope
It's
they
a
don't
fine
do that.
balance. Like, and that's one thing I will always give Riot Games credit for. It's like it's a very hard balance to find. How do we make these patches, but come out in a good amount of time to where when it's not stale. The game always feels fresh.
Yeah.
Like, and that's the thing with like Goats. I'm sure got super stale really quick. You know what I mean? It got like super quick. You're like, man, I don't want to play this. I don't know what role you play.
Once that Ghost meta came, I just left Overwatch League. Like at that point, it was getting more than that.
Yeah, like I did.
Yeah, watching it for like I'm assuming like for you guys as like spectators, right?
Oh, it's excruciating. It's
yeah,
excruciating to watch.
Basically, I think like for like 6 months of Goats, right? And no matter what they did, they couldn't fix it, right? Like they had to force roll queue. That was the only way, and it took them 6 months to realize, hey, maybe we should force roll queue. You know, like
that's like, and like that's a good. That's why like a lot of people don't really like Overwatch. It's this is like I think there's some sociology or psychology. When you give someone freedom and take it away from them and put restriction on, they don't like that, right? But when you tell people, hey, you can do this, but you can only do it this way, and here's some restrictions, they're fine with that. But like, because you gave Overwatch like all this freedom, and you just took it away from them. So yeah, they're not.
Oh no! What did I do?
I don't blame.
What did I do? Oh, I shouldn't have clicked it.
What you do?
Okay, hold on.
Oh no. What role did you play in Overwatch? You're muted.
I played mostly David.
I was a Lucio player. I was
Oh really?
Yeah,
Oh,
so
nice.
I was like part of the I was basically meta up until like Goats was basically nerfed.
Yeah,
Right?
I was
I was always using.
I was mostly damage person. Like I would play Tracer and Reaper all the time.
Yeah. See,
Well, guys, that looks like is going to be into the podcast there, guys. Thanks for watching. I seem to have messed up the camera. We'll catch you next time. Cheers, guys.